About program director namhlanje walomhlangano esikuwo. Umhlangano wethu is now officially opened. Let's apologize ngesikhashana esincane sesidlekile, but we are about to start now to open our meeting. Honorable Manqele, are you around, honorable member? Honorable Manqele. Honorable Manqele, are you here? Okay. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Honorable Manqele, I will just talk on a few rules on our visual meeting. One, please mute your mic and switch off your camera when you are not on the floor. And then also wait for the chairperson to recognize you before you speak. Thank you, Honorable Manqele. And then please, no political background to be displayed where you are sitting. And then I'm sure our meeting will go smoothly if we can all do away with some few things, bad gestures in the meeting. So I think we can now start our meeting. Honorable Manqele will be opening our meeting with a prayer. Over to you, Honorable Manqele.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kapashe, the program director. Now we are going to pray. Before we pray, I want to remind all the participants that one day when Jesus was crossing the river from one side of the river to another, there was a storm along the way. And their boat was filled with water and also with a lot of wind. But Jesus able to rebuke that storm, and they were safe. The people who were around, they asked that who can this be? The one who can able to command the wind and the storm. And the wind and the storm obeyed. Now I want to alert everybody who's present in this meeting that we are in the days of the storm. The storm has attacked us in South Africa, but we know that we are not alone. Our God is with us. Our God will help us to rebuke the storm so that we shall be safe. No one must be in sorrow. We must all be brave. Know that God will never forsake us. He will help us. He will help us to live. He will help us to continue. You, young generation, you are our future, and you are going to make it. The storm will be over very soon in the name of Jesus Christ. Let us pray. Oh God, we pray and beseech you to guide and protect our youth, our young people, from these dangers that are ever present in our world today. Be with them as they experience both sickness and health. They experience sorrow and joy, loneliness and friendship, success and failures. Help them, glorious Lord, to know and understand and to stay with you. Give them the courage and the strength to make their right decision as they journey through their lives. We depend to them. They are our future. Through the power of the Holy Spirit, may they come to know and experience that you are loving care. We are the Father who was. We are the Father who is. We are the Father who will. Bless this meeting. All people who shall contribute, give us wisdom in the name of our Lord, so that we take amicable decisions that will be able to be implemented and help the nation now and future. All what we ask in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Manqele. Siyabonga ngomkhuleko. We'll move on with our opening remarks. Colleagues and honorable members, officials, as we are in this month of July, which is observed as a men's month, I want to call all real men to stand and add their voices all end all forms of gender violence against women, elderly, and children. We are calling on all KZN citizens to use this month or this year of 2020 as a year of action to amplify the voice of men on the importance of gender transformation and human rights. Mhlawumbe kuyomele siveze imisebenzi emihle eyenziwa ngamadoda aqotho to promote good role models for our young men. Isiqubulo sethu ke sakulo nyaka sithi yiba indoda enakekelayo. I would also like to acknowledge the following people present in this meeting. Our Honorable Premier, Honorable Zigalala, he'll be joining us later. Honorable MEC of Department of Transport and Community Safety and Liaison, Honorable B. Ntuli. The Quality of Life Standing Committee and honorable members. Also, all youth formation leaders from the following political parties: ANC, IFP, DA, EFF, NFP, ATM, ACDP, MF, and also recognize all the different youth stakeholders present. Also, our legislature officials present. You are all welcomed kule meeting yethu. Ibona ke bonke abakhona kulo mhlangano. I therefore called usihlalo wethu wekomiti to give us i-purpose yosuku namhlanje kulo mhlangano esikuwo. Sihlalo ngicabanga ukuthi usihlalo useready. Thanks, Sihlalo. Besicela ukuthi uzomute if kukuthi you are not on the floor. Vela kwi-camera kuphela uma ngabe ungasekho kwi-floor. Uma kuwena okhulumayo uzovela. Kodwa uma ungakhulumi, please switch off your camera and phinde ukuthi umute.
Advanced tech, dynamic handling, new 2-liter engine.
Ngibonge Mbatha-Cele, mhlonishwa uXulu. Ngibingelele umhlonishwa usekela somlomo wesishayamthetho, umhlonishwa uNdobe. Ngibingelele kundunankulu wakithi KwaZulu-Natal, umhlonishwa uZigalala Khuzeni. Ngibingelele kumphathiswa wezokuthutha, ezokuphepha nokuxhumana nomphakathi, umphathiswa uNtuli Mphemba. Ngibingelele kuwona wonke amalunga ekomiti ka-Quality of Life, Ngibingelele amabhungu izinsizwa esinazo lana kulo mhlangano esikuwo. Ngibingelele nalabo abasebasha abasengabafundi abaphuma ezikoleni kuwona wonke ama-district esinawo la KwaZulu-Natal. Ngibingelele nawo wonke umuntu okhona ngaphakathi abefundisi esinabo abaholi bezenkolo. Ngibingelele nabaholi bezomdabu esinabo ngaphakathi. Ngohlelo ngifisa ukusho nje ukuthi njengoba namhlanje sihlangene la sigoqa inyanga yabantu besilisa okuwuJulayi. Njengoba ke sigoqa inyanga yabantu besilisa sileli komiti la kwa-Quality of Life, sibe sibona ukuthi kuzobaleka kakhulu ukuthi kube khona esikwenzayo ukuhlanganisa ikakhulukazi abantu besilisa abasebasha esithi zinsizwa noma amabhungu, ngoba sikwazile ngwenyanga kaJune okwakade kuyinyanga yabantu abasha ukuthi sihlanganise abantu abasha besifazane laba esibabiza ngokuthi ama-young women phecelezi ngokwesilungu. Sabona ukuthi kuzobaleka-ke ukuthi ngoba kuyinyanga yabantu besilisa asenze isiqiniseko ukuthi laba abasha esithi zinsizwa asibashiyi ngaphandle. Savumelana ukuthi siyikomiti sizobahlanganisa ngaphansi kwesihloko esithi iba indoda enakekelayo, sibe sikhulisa abantu besilisa abaqotho. Sihlangana-ke namhlanje kuJulayi siwuvala ngaphansi kwesimo esinzima kakhulu. Sizwile ukuthi silahlekelwe inqalabutho yomzabalazo eyake yaba laphaya eRivonia. Ubaba uAndrew Mlangeni obekade sesele yedwa kulabo ayenabo eRivonia. Ubaba uMlangeni uyisithalandwe, usishiyile emhlabeni. Ngalokho njengekomiti sidlulisa amazwi enduduzo emndenini wakhe kunye nasenhlanganweni yakhe i-African National Congress. Sithi nje ukudlula kwakhe ngokuzuma kusithuse sonke njengoba eshone kusaphela inyanga kade egubha usuku lokuzalwa kwakhe leminyaka ewu-95. Honorable Program Director, July is a remarkable month in South African history, as we also celebrate the life and selfless leadership of Utata Nelson Mandela. Mandela Day is an annual international day adopted by the United Nations. It is more than a celebration of Nelson Mandela's life and legacy. It is a global movement to take his life's work into a new era and change our world for the better. He also announced this idea on his 90th birthday in London's Hyde Park in England. He says, I quote, "It is time for new hands to lift their burdens. It is in your hands now," close quote. As South Africans, we embrace the chance to celebrate Nelson Mandela's life for the whole of July. Despite COVID-19, Mandela Day activities took place in many parts of South Africa. Mphathi wohlelo, sihlangene lapha namhlanje singabantu besilisa nabantu besifazane, sihlanganele ukuba sizoxoxa ngodaba oluyinhlekelele esibhekane nalo esizweni sakithi. Udaba lo lesibhekane nalo udaba lokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane nezingane. Abantu besifazane nezingane bahlukunyezwa emakhaya, eindaweni lapho okufanele ngabe bayitshela ukuthi baphephile uma bekhona. Baphinde bahlukunyezwe emiphakathini lapho esicabanga ukuthi fanele ngabe bavikelekile khona. abantu besifazane bayahlukunyezwa nasey'ndaweni zemisebenzi. Lapho besebenza khona basuke beyozamela abantwana babo kodwa bayakuthola ukuthi bahlukumezeke. Njengoba-ke sihlangene namhlanje sileli komidi lesishayamthetho uQuality of Life, sibe sesibona ukuthi ukufundisa kwethu umntwana wentombazane kuphela ngodaba lokuhlukumezeka kwabantu besifazane nezingane akwanele. Sase siyavumelana ukuthi kuyobaluleka ukuthi sibafundise nalaba abayinsizwa zakithi abasakhula, ngoba indaba iqala lapha ekhaya. Lesikhathi sibakhulisa abantwana, umntwana wentombazane kube uyena owenza yonke into ekhaya, apheke, ageze izitsha, akline endlini. Umntwana wesilisa yena engayenzi yonke leyo msebenzi. Sithi noma sibathengela izinto zokudlala, abesifazane sobaphathela nje onodoli, ngoba sibafundisa ukuthi bona badalelwe ukuthi bagone abantwana. Kodwa umntwana wesilisa simphathele imoto. Lokho kusho ukuthi-ke abantu besilisa kufanelekile ukuthi babe nezimoto. Siboneke njengaleli komiti ukuthi asibafundise bese bancane ukuthi umuntu wesifazane nowesilisa ngokomthetho wase-South Africa bayalingana. Lento kufanele bayifunde besakhula, bangayitholi ngaphandle, baqale ukuyithola ekhaya. Siphinde sibafundise ukuthi ukuhlukunyezwa komuntu wesifazane akuvumelekile. Umuntu wesifazane uyafana nawe njengomuntu wesilisa. Uma sibafundisile bese bancane bazokhula bayazi lento ukuthi akathintwa umuntu wesifazane. Ufana nje nokuthi uma uyinsizwa yakwenu ufuna intombi, uma intombi ingakuthandi bese ubona ukuthi fanele mawuyishaye noma mawuyilimaze. Noma kufika isikhathi ukuthi intombi kade ikuthanda ayisakuthandi, so ubona ukuthi fanele ukuthi-ke mawuyibulale. Siyafisa ukuthi abantu abasha besilisa bakufunde ukwamukela ukuthi khona isikhathi sokuthandwa, khona isikhathi sokungathandwa. Ngalokho uma umuntu wesifazane ethi cha sengonele, sekufike ekutheni angisakuthandi, okwakho sizwa yakithi ukuthi fanele ubonge uthi ngiyabonga nkosazana isikhathi onginike sona ngalesikhathi usangithanda, bese uyahamba. Hayi ukuthi bese wena ubona isitha usuyamgwaza, uyamlimaza, uyambulala. Sizogqugquzela-ke abantu abasha besilisa ukuthi abafunde ukuthi kuphilwa kanjani emhlabeni. Sinalo ithemba siwuQuality of Life ukuthi uma sifundise abantu abasha ngokuphathwa kwabantu besifazane nangempilo nje ekhona emhlabeni, bazokhula bebe obaba noma babe amadoda aqotho. Yingakho-ke sileli komiti lesishayamthetho saKwaZulu-Natal sizoshaya ikhwelo ukuthi abantu abasha abaziphathe ngendlela ehloniphekile. Njengoba sengishilo-ke ukuthi izihloko nje esizokhulumela phezu kwazo izo lezo zokuthi abantu besifazane, abantu besilisa abazi ukuthi bayafana, bayalingana nabantu besifazane. Nabesifazane banalo ilungelo umthethosisekelo walelizwe lase-South Africa. Sizophinde futhi sicubungule ngamathuba ezomnotho akhona kubantu besilisa abasebasha nasentsheni jikelele. Sizophinde futhi sikwazi ukukhuthaza uluntu lwakithi lwabantu besilisa ukuthi kufanele benze isiqiniseko ukuthi ngaso sonke isikhathi bayahlukana nokusebenzisa izidakamizwa, ngoba ezinye izinto esibonile ukuthi ziyimthelela ekutheni bangakwazi ukuziphatha. izinsizwa lezi abantu abesilisa abasebasha sibizwa ngokuthi kena izinsizwa amabhungu akithi. Simemile ke mphathi wohlelo sacela noNdunankulu wakithi KwaZulu-Natal ukuthi abe nathi ngoba uyena umuntu wesilisa oyi-first citizen kule province yakithi KwaZulu-Natal ukuba azokhuluma nabantu abasha besilisa abakhulise bezokwazi ukuthathela kuye ukuthi njengoba kuyena umuntu wesilisa wokuqala kule province nazi izindlela okufanele ukuthi mazihanjwe nanokuthi umuntu wesilisa kumele makaziphathe kanjani. Siphinde futhi sacela iofisi likaSomlomo. E-ofisini likaSomlomo sicelile usekela Somlomo njengomuntu wesilisa naye osekhulile ukuthi akeze ezokhuluma nabantu abasha bakwaZulu-Natal ukuthi asho ukuthi fanele ukuthi mabeziphathe kanjani ukuze bakwazi ukuphumelela ezintweni zonke abazifisayo njengoba besakhula. Saphinde sacela ungqongqoshe wezomphakathi mhlambe nje kalula ukuthi abaningi lophethe ungqongqoshe ophethe zamaphoyisa. Sifisile ukuthi ungqongqoshe uNtuli eze azokhuluma nabantu abasha bakwaZulu-Natal abakhombise abatshele ukuthi kubaluleke kangakanani ukuziphatha kahle emphakathini nanokuthi uma sizifaka ezinkingeni zodlame nasey'nkingeni zokuganga siphelela ey'ndaweni ezingalunganga njengokuboshwa singabantu abasha basebancane bese futhi uthola ukuthi ikusasa lakho seliyafiphala kanti iningi lethu siphuma emphakathini noma emakhaya la sizihluphekele khona. Abazali mabebona ingane ivuka esikolweni baba nethemba ukuthi mayiqede esikolweni kuzoba khona ushintsho la ekhaya. Kodwa ingane mayise iqala manje idlwengula abantu besifazane, idla idakamizwa, isiyavalelwa ikusasa layo seliyaphela kanti nethemba la ekhaya ukuthi siyoba ngcono ngelinye ilanga sekuyashabalala. Ingakho ke sicele ukuthi ungqongqoshe uMphemba akazokhuluma nabantu abasha ngoba baye bacabanga ukuthi kuyadlalwa. Khona ke baye bathi ke Mphemba ejele kumnandi kudliwa kamnandi. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi uMphemba uzobatshela ukuthi ayikho into edliwayo emnandi ejele kanti futhi usukuzwisa nabazali bakho ubuhlungu obukhulu njengomuntu omusha uma ngabe ungaziphethe kahle. Udaba olukhulu njengoba ngishilo ukuthi olusiphethe kabi kakhulu bantu abasha besilisa ilele lithi abantu ukuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane nezingane olukhulu kakhulu kule lizwe lakithi ikakhulukazi nakwi-province yethu. uMongameli uCyril Ramaphosa ukhulume kakhulu ngodaba lokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane waze wabeka nekomiti waze wabeka nemali ukuthi kufanele kubhekelelwe ekutheni kuthathiwa ziphi inyathelo ukuze abantu besifazane bangahlukumezeki nalabo ababahlukumezayo bathole isijeziso esibafanele. Inhlangano zabantu besifazane ekakhulukazi lana eSouth Africa nala KwaZulu-Natal ziholwa inhlangano ka-African National Congress u-ANC Women's League babe ne-memorandum abebekade beyenza bayisa kumongameli ukuthi siyacela ukuthi abantu laba basuke bedlwengulile babulala abantu besifazane abangayitholi ibheli nesigwebo sabo siqine kakhulu kunalokho esiyikho njengamanje. Uphendulile kumongameli washo ukuthi lolu daba uyalibheka noma kanjani sinaso isiqiniseko ukuthi kuzokwenzeka. Ingakho ke sithe nina abantu abasha bala KwaZulu-Natal besilisa hlanganyelani kunye nathi sizozwa nani uvo lwenu ukuthi nibone ukuthi yini le ngempela eyenzakalayo nedala ukuthi noma kunganina ngqo kodwa ontanga yenu bahlukumeze abantu besilisa abantu besifazane. Yilezo zinto esizothanda ukuthi sikhulume ngazo, nanokuthi ke nani nizonikezwa ithuba, nalabo abasemphakathini esingabafakile la bazonikezwa nabo ithuba ukuthi lapha ku WhatsApp basho ukuthi nazi thina inkinga esinazo njengabantu besilisa abasakhula. Abanye bathi baba neyinkinga ekukhuleni emakhaya, basuke abakhuliseki kahle emakhaya, bese lokho kuba umthelela umntwana womfana abone ngazathi iyona ndlela okufanele akhule ngayo leyo. Mangabe ubaba ekhaya eshaya umama, naye ubona ngazathi kufanele ukuthi ke mayekhula umuntu wesifazane nje amphathe ngaleyo ndlela. So sithi ke phansi ngokubulawa kwabantu besifazane, phansi sikhulisa nina njengabantu abasebasha balakithi KwaZulu-Natal. Program Director, as I conclude, I want to acknowledge the centrality of preventing gender-based violence. The province of KwaZulu-Natal has developed the multidisciplinary provincial program of action on gender-based violence and femicide, okuyiyona ezokwazi ukulekelela ikakhulukazi lesimo esibhekane naso. And based violence and femicide, to provide a cohesive strategic framework to guide the provincial response as an overarching program for prevention, education, empowerment, response, care, and support on gender-based violence. Program Director, we fully support such initiatives under the leadership of Premier Ukhuzen. On a positive note, I can tell you that momentum is gathering, awareness is rising, and I truly believe that long-standing indifferences to violence against women and children is declining. Baningi abantu besilisa njengamanje ababambe iqhaza ekutheni baliswane nesimo sokubuhlukunyezwa nokubulawa kwabantu besifazane. We firmly believe that as a nation we will pull through this difficult period, soldier on, and conquer all the odds that sought to reverse the gains of our democracy. We stand in the shoulders of giants, one of which we are celebrating his centenary this year, Ubaba Comrade Harry Gwala, the Lion of Midlands, whom is held as an exemplar of integrity, personifying the idea of a leader who for many years selflessly served the movement, consistently holding up the goals of a human and caring society. Sithi kuye Mphephethwa was a great political teacher who taught generation after generation of the struggle. Many of today's leaders drank from the deep well of Mphephethwa political wisdom. It is through such wisdom that although there is a darkness, but we can always see light at the end of the tunnel. Like he will always say, aluta continua, umzabalazo uyaqhubeka. Today, as we celebrate his centenary, we're thankful to the Gwala family, the ANC and the SACP for having borrowed us such an icon of our struggle. The renaming of Edendale Hospital to his name is of no doubt benefits his legacy equally so. The move to have his grave site declared a heritage site is a noble call. Mphathi wohlelo, ngifisa ukuthi ngiphethe ngokuthi ngisho ukuthi quality of life, siyafisa ukuthi sithi siphuma la sibe sizwile ngempela ukuthi abantu besilisa abasebasha KwaZulu-Natal iziphi izinto abafisa ukuthi babambisane kuzo nohulumeni wesifundazwe ngaphansi kwesiqubule esithi sakha indoda amadoda anobuqotho kwesifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal. Ngiyabonga mphathi wohlelo.
Sibonga kakhulu kusihlalo inkulumo eyakhayo kakhulu. Ngicabanga ukuthi onamadlebe uzwile. Also to our participants ngizocela ukuthi wela khona sizoba khona nemibuzo ngizocela ukuthi siyibhale phansi ukuze mase kufika isikhathi sokuthi sibuze sikwazi ukuyibuza yonke. Also ngizofuna futhi ukureminder our participants also ukuthi singakhohlwa to unmute if you are not on the floor, both kwi-camera and kwi-mic, please. Ngoba isuke ihambe bese ihambishayana la endleleni. Sizocela ukuthi senze njalo se-unmute if you are not on the floor, and then siphinde futhi unmute na kwi-camera as well. Okay, let's also, I didn't see the program yami la Honorable Ndobe. Sengirealize manje asamukele Honorable Ndobe, our deputy speaker kwi-KZN Legislature. Mkhawa wami wamukelekele kakhulu kulo mhlangano. Sizobe sesidlula siya kwi-speaker sethu esilandelayo khona manje. Kodwa ngizocela also sidlulise amazwi ethu njengekomiti wela khona sidlulisa amazwi enduduzo kwezihlobo nakomakhelwane bonke abalahlekelwe izihlobo zabo kule ngxubakaxaka esibhekene nawe ye-COVID. Thina as legislature KwaZulu-Natal, we also lost our Honorable Mthembu nakuya nasemndenini wakhe also. We are saying may his soul rest in peace. Okade buyaphinde futhi abe ngu-spokesperson wenhlangano kaKhongolose. So Honorable Ndobe, I would like to hand over to you and then to give us our remarks. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Program Director, Honorable Xulu, Honorable Premier of our province of KwaZulu-Natal, Khuzeni, Honorable members of the Provincial Executive Council of KwaZulu-Natal, in particular Honorable Mpemba, who is going to participate in the program, Honorable Chair of the Quality of Life Standing Committee, Honorable Mbatha-Cele, and thank you so much to you for a wonderful purpose of the program. Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature of KwaZulu-Natal, delegates to the Young Men's Seminar, representing all parties that are represented in the Legislature of KwaZulu-Natal, members of the media, our viewers at home from various media platforms, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and compatriots, I greet you all this afternoon. Thank you, Program Director, for affording me this opportunity to say a few words or brief remarks. I would like to commend Honorable Program Director and honorable members and colleagues by thanking the Quality of Life Standing Committee, working together with the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Premier for organizing this young men's seminar. This is indeed not common in our society, where we dedicate time to groom and engage with young men as an important sector and a pillar of our society. In many instances, we focus our efforts and energies to the girl child, either in our families, in our churches, in the society, and in our organizations. Hence today, in our province, we have Umkhosi Womhlanga under the leadership of His Majesty, the King, Isilo Samabandla, Ongangezwe lakhe, Umdlokombane. And there are a number of other initiatives focusing on young girls and women in the society generally. In the current juncture, Program Director and honorable members and colleagues, there are also more initiatives of men's forums or men's sector organized either by government or by civil society organizations. It therefore affords me delight and great pleasure that we are today having a dialogue with the young men from our province and sincerely hoping that we are going to build on this as a foundation and sustain these kind of interventions. This 2020 Virtual Young Men's Seminar is held under the theme, Nurturing Young Men for a Future Society of Responsible Men, free of gender-based violence and femicide. The theme suggests, Honorable Program Director, that if we teach and nurture young men today to be responsible men for tomorrow, then we will guarantee a future society that will be free of gender-based violence and femicide. The kind of society that we see today is as a result of a number of things. Amongst others, I just want to identify a few factors that contribute to the broken society that we see today, Program Director and colleagues. The first one for me that comes out is the family structure that we have in our society, where in many families, we have families that are child-headed households, and we have families that are only having a single parent, a mother as the only parent available in that family without a father. Now you can imagine young boys and young men that are growing out of that environment without the love, support, and guidance from fathers. What kind of a society are we building? But another factor that I have identified is the family values in our society, where there is no respect, where there is no discipline. Hence, we have all these social ills that we see every day in the society. But another factor that I think it's important, it's the cultural practices in our society. If I may cite one example, Program Director, isiko okanye umkhuba wokuthwala esiubonayo kwezinye izizwe ezikhona, not only KwaZulu-Natal, either you go to Eastern Cape and other provinces. Okwezinye zezinto eziba nomthelela wokuthi sibe nalesimo esinaso kwi-society, a patriarchal society. But another factor that is important that we must engage on is the religious beliefs. In our faith-based organizations, emabandleni ahlukahlukene esikhonza kuwo, sometimes there are elements that promote a superiority of men in the society against women. And how do we deal with that in our churches? But the political doctrines in our organizations, a number of political organizations do promote superiority of men, consciously or unconsciously. And that's one issue that we must deal with in our organization. Now, a combination of all these factors lead us to what we call patriarchy in the society. And the sooner we deal with these factors, is the better for everyone in dealing with patriarchy in the society. As the country and the world is battling against this pandemic and invisible enemy of COVID-19, it was so embarrassing and disappointing to see rising cases of domestic violence, child and women's abuse during this COVID-19 lockdown. This pandemic has exposed us in terms of cruelty of men against women. Just a few days ago, here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, an innocent female teacher was allegedly taken from escort to be killed and burnt to ashes in the car near Bergville. And that's one example of cruelty of men in the society against women. As I conclude, Chair and colleagues, our purpose of existence as men is to love, provide, and protect all those around us, particularly the vulnerable. And I want to emphasize this. Our main purpose is to love, protect, and provide in the society, particularly the vulnerable. We must therefore continue working together with all stakeholders in our society, government, traditional leadership, faith-based organization, and civil society organizations to nurture young men for a future society of responsible men, free of gender-based violence and femicide. I thank you, Program Director, and I thank you, colleagues. Thank you.
Sibonga kakhulu speaker in those wise words osiwashilo kithi ngiyacabanga ukuthi abafowethu abasha bazwile, and also uma kukhona abadinga ukubuza futhi please ababhale sizofika isikhathi wela khona kuzomela babuze, but those are the wise words ekufanele sonke kubafowethu abasebasha siwathathe sihambe siwasebenzisa lapha ngaphandle, because we do need those men who can stand out there and then bashumayele leli ivangeli lokuthi phansi nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane, and then babe those true leaders abathi walk the talk. Lokhu namhlanje abazokufunda asiphumeni nako siyokusebenzisa ngaphandle ukuze sikwazi ukuqhubezela ikhwelo elishiwo upresident ubaba uRamaphosa no premier wethu waKwaZulu-Natal ubaba uZikalala. Siyocela ke bafowethu ukuthi konke esikuthola kungabe nje ukuthi kuphela kungenile kwaphuma ngala, makube isifundo esothi masiphuma la nathi sishumayele ngaphandle la siya ngakhona, nathi sigqugquzele sibe sakhe amadoda aqotho lapha kini esophuma ngawo sikwazi ukushumayela leli ivangeli lokuthi phansi nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane. Ispeaker sethu ke sizolandela la kuzoba ispeaker sethu from Department of Health uDr Philanndwa. Angazi ukuthi doctor ukhona.
Ngikhona.
Siyabonga kakhulu, over to you sis.
Program Director, Honorable Xulu, Honorable Premier, Honorable Member of the Executive Committee, youth leaders, all department and committee members at large, I greet you all. And thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to talk to our young men during the Men's Month. Can I therefore request that you show the presentation? I'm going to talk to young men about COVID-19, sexual and reproductive health in general. We all know that we are hit hard by this COVID-19 pandemic, and it has brought about a lot of changes in our life and in our health on a daily basis. Next slide, please. Why are we focusing on young men for promoting sexual and reproductive health? Sexual and reproductive health is a state of complete physical and mental social well-being in all matters relating to reproductive system, and it involves men. So we cannot talk about sexual and reproductive health without talking to men. But previously, we used to put men behind and focus more on our women or young girls. Because they're the one who will fall pregnant, they're the one who will report in our clinics every now and then, and we only see few men coming to our clinic. So as we talk about sexual and reproductive health, men has to participate, and men is associated with sexual reproductive health because they had a say on when, how, with who should they engage themselves in sexual and reproductive health. So, so for us, as Department of Health, we've got different services that we offer for young men. We have 5 services: few male condoms, vasectomy, voluntary male medical circumcision, HIV testing and screening, sexual transmitted and infection testing and treatment. So those are the services that will then help to limit unwanted pregnancy, prevent STI, prevent HIV, and improve sexual and reproductive health. Because a young girl cannot fall pregnant without an involvement of a male partner. Next slide. So when we talk about condom, there's a picture there that shows what is a condom. A condom is a thin latex that is placed over the entire shaft of the penis to prevent pregnancy. That is the most important aspect. It prevents pregnancy, it reduces transmitting of HIV, STI to partners. So if a male condom are used correctly and consistently with every sex act, female partner may not have unplanned pregnancy. But if they are not used them consistently, they may fall pregnant and have unwanted pregnancy. They might have HIV, they might have STI. So we are encouraging our young men to initiate. Yes, we have female condom, but we are saying to young men, let's stand up, let's advocate for using condoms in each and every sex act that we had with our female partner in order to prevent all unwanted pregnancy. Because as a province, we have a lot of young girls who are reporting in our facilities with unplanned pregnancy. Some become looking for termination of pregnancy. So those are the things that we are trying to avoid, and we can avoid that by using constant condom during the practice of sexual intercourse. Next slide. The other service that we are offering is vasectomy. So what is vasectomy? Vasectomy is a permanent surgical form of male sterilization, which you can see on the picture there, that during vasectomy, the vast difference, the tube that carries sperm from the testicle to the penis are just tied or otherwise sealed to prevent sperm from mixing with the semen fluid. Instead, the sperm then will then be absorbed by the body, and then they are not released during ejaculation, where during ejaculation, if they are mixed with the female egg, then they form a child. So we are offering this service, which is a bit difficult when we talk to males because they really don't understand. But if each and every person, including young men for future, if they want to talk about it, they can go to our facility. We've got healthcare workers, we've got youth zones, more than 200 youth zones in our facility that are only specified for young men and young women in our facility. Next slide. The other service that we are offering as Department of Health for young men is voluntary medical male circumcision. So that is a complete removal of a penal foreskin. You can see over the picture. I just put the picture so that you can see the procedure. How is it done? It reduces the risk of HIV transmission from females to males, and also it benefits men and women by reducing HPV. HPV is the one that causes cervical cancer to women. It also reduces the chance of having genital ulcer, bacteria vaginosis, and other infection, and also reduce the risk of penile cancer in young men and men. If you go around our facility, I once had a discussion with one specialist in Greece, where we realized that we've got so many young men who are walking around our street with no penis. Why? Because they had this penile cancer, and then they tend to ignore it. Hence, when it starts as a small pimple on the head of the penis, and then it grows in such a way that it destroys your whole genitals, where one needs to be removed, and then they had to use a catheter for urinating. But at the end of the day, they are no longer going to engage themselves in sexual intercourse. So I'm saying to young men, go and do your male medical circumcision. We are offering them in our facility. We have got a roving team that is going around our community offering this service. It is important that you do male medical circumcision. Next slide, please. Next slide. So the other service that we offer is HIV testing service. The HIV testing service is where one is going to identify her own status when it comes to HIV. You will get counseling in our facilities. You will then, if you are tested and then you are tested HIV positive, you will be counseled and then you will be put on treatment. And again, they will trace your partners so that then your partner can then also be put on treatment. So it's either you will do a rapid testing where they will just poke your finger and then they do tests, or they will take blood as is shown on the picture and send them to the laboratory. Then if you are positive, you are put on treatment, they do counseling, but you ensure that you continue protecting yourself by using condom. Next slide. Next slide. The other, go back to the previous slides. The other service that we are offering is STI testing and treatment. For those who tend to be having STI, we are saying, go to our clinics. You will get treatment, you will get testing. We've got so many infections that can move from one person to another during oral sex or vaginal sex or anal sex. So some STI can also spread via blood and from mother to child during pregnancy and childbirth. So you need to go to our facility as a young man and don't ignore. Men tend to ignore symptoms and say that, no, I'll be fine, I'll be okay. Hence, you won't be okay if you don't get treatment. And if you get tested, either be HIV, either be STI, you also need to encourage your partner to go for testing and also be on treatment if need be, and continue using condoms at all times. Next slide. So in conclusion, we must be the change we want to see in our community, because it is imperative for us all to be able to prevent the slow death of soul by working together to restore humanity, comfort nature, build confidence, and rehabilitate our mothers, our aunts, grandmothers, and sisters to the path of survival. And we are called all involved in eradicating the scourge of gender-based violence in our province. So we are saying to young men, don't ignore, don't be ignorant. If you see gender-based violence happening in your community, don't wait for it to happen. Prevent it from happening. Report it to the police, report to the social worker so that it can be prevented. So we are saying here, men, break the silence before it is too late. Thank you.
Sicabanga ukuthi onezindlebe uzwile. Onezindlebe uzwile. Sicabanga ukuthi kubantu abasha bakhona la umyalezo uqondile kodwa futhi again sizoqhubeka sizoyithola iplatform wela khona sizokwazi ukubuza nokucaciseleka kokunye seke kwashiwo la. Ngicabanga ukuthi kuyimiyalezo ebalekile kakhulu kithi sonke siparticipate njengamanje ukuthi le miyalezo izoba umphako esizophuma nawo sihambe nawo siyofundisa abanye abantu abasha. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi bonke abakhona la namhlanje abantu abasha bazophuma babe ama-ambassadors of good men out there abazokwazi ukuthi makuvikelwe abantu besifazane abazothi phansi nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane. Sizoqhubeka ke nohlelo lethu siye kwisikhulumi sethu esilandelayo.
Director.
Ukhona okhulumayo?
Ukhona program director.
Yebo.
No, James Law from beside the ACDP.
Yes.
Angazi noma possible yini program director ukuthi mhlambe ama presentation documents mhlambe siwathole. Thank you.
No, qhubeka but.
No, ngithi ama presentation document ezikade udokotela epresenta la mhlawumbe nathi sibe nama documents lawa ya mhlawumbe ni transfer if possible sizokwazi nathi mhlawumbe sithi go through.
Kubaleke kakhulu azotholakala but. Ubani engikhuluma naye konje?
Thank James from ACDP.
Okay. From James ngiyacabanga ukuthi mfowethu James azotholakala ama report noma kanjani mangabe eqeda bonke abantu bazothunyelelwa.
Danke.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Usekhona Mr. MK Ngobese. The role of young men in building the safe environment for all.
Ngikhona program director.
Over to you, my leader.
Thank you, sir. Greetings to you. Greetings to the deputy speaker, the premier in absentia, as well as all the honorable members and the invited guests. No singabo abantu abasha ikakhulukazi insizwa ezisencane sokhuluma naso. All protocol observed. Program director, allow me to say from the onset, thina njengabantu abasha, we must always acknowledge the fact that we are not human yet. That is why English says human beings. The word itself, or this term itself, it is in the present continuous tense. We are not human, but we are being human. We are becoming human.
Sorry kancane baba Ngobese socela uvele bu. Siyalizwa lelizwe limnandi kodwa manje asiliboni liphuma apha.
Oh, thank you. Ngiyabonakala manje.
Hayi ke sekuyabonakala impela bot siyabonga.
Thank you, sir. Ndobe ngifisa ukusho ukuthi ke thina njengabantu abasha ikakhulukazi insizwe esencane kufanele sazi ukuthi we are becoming. We are not yet there. So akufanele siclaim ukuthi we have already arrived. We are human beings. Igama elithi human being, being, it is in the present continuous tense. We are being human. We are becoming human. So we are going there. We are in the process. We are progressive. We have not yet arrived. So that we understand, we need to ask ourselves a crucial question. What is it that I am becoming? So that you are able to discover yourself when everything is said and done. Right. From the and let me be quick in defining a man for young men. A man is a male person who tirelessly and successfully resists the temptation to misbehave. Indoda nje izinsizwa esencane umuntu wesilisa who tirelessly and successfully resists the temptation to misbehave. There's always a temptation to misbehave. If there's a temptation ukuthi ushaye umuntu wesifazane, tirelessly and successfully, you must resist that temptation to misbehave. We all have feelings, we all have temptations. But when I even motto, tirelessly and successfully, I will be able to resist the temptation to misbehave. Makukuthi hambe uyontshontshwa, makukuthi hambe uyokwenza ubugebengu, makukuthi hambe uyoganga ekhaya, makuthi hambe uyokwenza zonke izinto ezingalungile, iba nento ekudrivayo, uthi tirelessly and successfully I will be able to resist the temptation to misbehave, because ukumisbehavior kusemzweni umuntu wesilisa, kusemzweni wendoda. Nathi sisigada nje ngoba siziqhubha ngale motto lokuthi if I want to be a man, I must understand that a man is a male person who tirelessly and successfully resist the temptation to misbehave. Makuthi nje wenza into wrong, kwazi ukuthi unalesiqubulo esikulandelayo so that siyakwazi ukuqhubela phambili, ngoba thina fanele sibe amadoda kusasa. Masizinsizwa sabafana abancane, we must know the fact that we are future leaders. Asiziphileli nje thina, but we are future leaders. There is something ke Chairperson engifisa ukukhuluma ngayo esiphazamisayo thina njengensizwe encane. I am inspired by an animal ebizwa ngerhino. Njengephoyisa nje into engifundile, I'm not giving you ideas, don't run with the illustration, but get an object lesson from this illustration. Don't do it, but just get the lesson out of it. Into enza ukuthi sihluleke ekakhulu kulwa lempi yokuvikela uphondo likaBhejane eqiweni is simply because abantu laba bazigebengu ezithatha noma ezitshontsha uphondo likaBhejane abahambi isiqiwi sonke ngoba they have studied the rhinos. What does the rhino do? The rhino simply picks a spot la lizozikhulela khona, and when it has picked that spot, it will only use that spot. Malike laphiswa nje, yapiswa nje rhino uBhejane awuzikhululi noma yilani, ungahamba 3 kilometers down the line esiqiwini bese uphiswa endleleni, uzozibamba, uzosifuna ispot sawo, uzobekezela uzubuye ufike kwispot sawo la okwazi ukuthi uzikhulule khona. Njengathi ke bafana fanele sifase ukuthi there must come a time where we pick our spot. What am I saying? As ukuthi linda until kuze kufike isikhathi esi-right bese upick ispot sakho njengomfana, wazi ukuthi ke naku ke la ngipick khona ispot, usungena ke manje ebudodeni njengomfana osemncane. Upick ispot ngokuthi uthole umuntu omaqondana wakho ozoshada naye. Mase ushadile, noma ngabe kuthiwa unemali, noma ngabe kuthiwa usehotela, noma kuthiwa uhambe ngomsebenzi, but you must know your spot. I have picked my spot as a married man. Nami ngiyaphiswa endleleni, I've got feelings. I'm a man. I'm a handsome man just like all other men. But kuba engikhuza ukuthi angikwazi ukuhlulwa uBhejane. Uma uBhejane uzikhulula kwispot esisodwa esiqiwini, what more of me with the mental capacity le uNkulunkulu anginikela? Angikwazi ukuhlula uBhejane ngibe ngicabanga mina ngazi umphumela eminye udokotela lo obekhuluma ngaphambi kwami ade ekhuluma ngawo. So mawuphiswa akuyona inkinga ukuthi have you picked ispot esi-right ozozikhulula kusona, ngoba isociety yonakala kangaka nje. We've got fatherless households, we've got abantu abaphila emgaqweni, we've got abantu abaphila impilo ebuhlungu nama-consequences amaningi angemahle simply because umfana uvumela ukuthi azikhulule noma yilaphi la ephiswa khona. Ungaphiswa yonke indawo, but pick your spot ozokwazi ukuthi uzikhulule kuyona. Okwesibili ngifisa ukukhuluma ngako kuthina njengensizwe esencane. I know ukuthi kuhle ukuba buhle, I know ukuthi kuhle ukugqoka kahle, but akubalekile uqikelela icontainer and forget about the importance of the content. Abantu abasha abafana kakhulukazi bagada ukuthi bagqokani, bagada ukuthi babukeka kanjani, lokho kungaphandle. Ngizothi mina, let us equally take care of our content. Have you asked yourself a question as a boy, as a growing man, ukuthi emotional intelligence yami injani? Ngishesha kangakanani ukudinwa? Mase ngidiniwe ngenze njani? Ngiyakwazi ukuzibamba? Am I intelligent enough emotionally? Ngenze njani? Noma nje ngiphakamisa isandla. Don't only look for what is without, but also look for what is within. Ngoba kubalekile iloku okuqhamuka ngaphakathi. Azi ingaphakathi lakho, ungagcini ngokwazi ingaphandle lakho, ngoba ingaphandle lakho icontainer. Wena kahle kahle uqobo lakho uyi-content, yiloku okucontainwe ile container thina esibukayo. Uzwe kuthiwa ave nomoya omuhle, ave lungile, ave hlonipha, ave ezithoba, ave nobuntu, akwenziwa i-container lesibukayo. Usho ukuthi kwenzakalani kwi-content. Yini investwe kuwena ngaphakathi. Look after the content that is contained by your body. You'll be a man one day. Sengizogoqa Chairperson, in the interest of time. Ngifisa ukuthi sathi labantu besilisa ukuthi asiziphileli. Bantu abasha banalento yokuthi it's my life. Lalela, it's not my life. It's not your life. You did not apply to come into existence. You did not bring yourself in this planet. You were brought by somebody. There were people who were involved in the project of bringing you in this planet Earth. So don't say it's your life. Ask yourself a question. Le privilege engayithola yokuthi ngilethwe kulomhlaba. What is it that they had in mind for my existence? Ungalokuthi hayi ngumuntu omusha impilo yami la kusiyona impilo yakho. Yazi konke engiye ngithande ukubona amaphoyisa omgaqo noma amaphoyisa nje ajwayelekile uma ekwi roadblock lithi lincane ngomzimba lingenaso isithunzi lingahloniphekile ngaleyo ndlela, but he or she simply raises his hand as a symbolism ukuthi lalela. Into eyenza ukuthi ulalele, it's not this tiny hand ekumisayo, but it's because you realize that behind this hand kunobaba uMphemba, the MEC for Community Safety and Liaison. Behind this hand there's the Premier of the province. Behind this hand, there is Umagaye being the Minister of Police. Behind this hand, there is the National Commission. Behind this hand, there is the Constitution itself. Behind this hand, there is a President where umthetho wonke usemva kwalesandla bese uhlonipha okungemuva kwesandla. Ngizothi ke mina usiphile njengomuntu omusha, but kufanele wazi ukuthi emva kwakho khona abazali abakukhulisile, emva kwakho khona umphakathi okukhulisile, emva kwakho kukhona abantu ekhona isizwe esikhulisile. Yingakho kuba lula nje ukuthi singayanga eGoli, kodwa uzwa abantu baseGoli sebene opinion ngathi bese bethi nina amaZulu, simply because oyeGoli ufike wasirepresenta sonke thina esingayanga. You may not have been there, but those that went there before you, if they misrepresented you, sekune perception, sekunama misconception about us as abantu abamaZulu, simply because we were represented and we were misrepresented by abantu abahambe ngaphambi kwethu. So akekho ke umuntu oziphilelayo, kodwa wonke umuntu uphilela umphakathi, umndeni, ibandla, inhlangano, uphilela isizwe angaphansi kwaso. Azi ukuthi it's not your life, but impilo yethu sonke, we are represented in your life. So treat it responsibly. Sengizogoqa bese ngithi ke kunegama engilithandayo la Donda elikhuluma nge-responsibility. Leli gama elikhuluma nge-responsibility. Responsibility is a combination of two words, response and ability. It simply says you are able to respond. Noma ngabe kuthiwa ubhekene nendlala, noma ngabe kuthiwa uthola umsebenzi, noma ngabe kuthiwa ubhekene nenhlupheko, noma ngabe kuthiwa ubhekene nani, but uNkulunkulu kunika responsibility. You are able to respond kunanoma isiphi isimo obhekene naso. Njengokwakho wena sibuza ukuthi how do I respond kulesimo ekubhekene naso? For you have an ability to respond in any situation that you come across. You don't have to react, but you must respond as a responsible citizen of this country, the beautiful country which is South Africa. As a preacher, I cannot learn without having gone to the scriptures. I'm inspired about Jesus Christ. Donda, he is known as a Lion of Judah, but he conquered as a lamb that was slain. Bafana, amandless now, your masculinity, your power, your physical power onayo, don't conquer the situation as a lion, but conquer as a lamb. Namhlanje siyancoma sithi hey, wachitha igazi, he conquered as a lamb. He could have chosen to conquer the world as a lion. aravaza yonke into ekhona, but he said, no, I do have power, but I choose to conquer the world as a lamb of Judah. Nawe-ke ungaba nazidlakela uma unodadewenu, uma unosisi bakho, uma une-girlfriend yakho, uma unabanye abantu abakuzungezile, but choose to conquer the world as a lamb, not as a lion. I have decided nami ukuthi as a police officer, I am the lion at work, but I am a lamb at home. Hence my wife, my children, and everybody in my household, they feel free. As you grow up, aspire to be the lamb as you conquer the world. It is in between. If you are failing to use the asset that is in between your ears, you will abuse the assets that is in between your arms and end up misusing the asset that is in between your legs. Use that asset that is in between your ears. Sebenzisa ingqondo ukuze ungasebenzisi imizwa, the asset that is in between your arms. Because mawusebenzisa imizwa, how do you feel? You will misuse the asset that is in between your legs. And ke konakele uma sewukulelo zinga bese kuthiwa ke abantu if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Baningi abathi ukube ngangazi ngangoyithatha le asset that is in between my legs ngibeke le and use the one that is in between my ears, because it would have given me education, it would have given me information, it would have given me knowledge and wisdom. Then I would be able to hold my feelings, react uma ngizwa ukuthi khona abangisukelayo, and be able to use ithuluzi lami that is in between my legs ngendlela right. By so doing, isizwe siyophepha. Thank you very much, Donda. Thank you very much, Khulu, ezikhona nabantu bonke ade belalele inkulumo. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Sibonga kakhulu kubaba uNgobese, amazwi akhayo namazwi engicabanga ukuthi angena azwele ngaphakathi kwabonke abalalele and azosaka ukuqhubeka la siya phambili. Ngiyafuna nami ukuquote into la that will talk about self-respect. By definition is a confidence and pride in knowing that your behavior is both honorable and dignified. When you harass or vilify someone, you're not only disrespecting them, but yourself also. Street harassment, sexual violence, sexual harassment, gender-based violence, and racism are all an acts committed by a person who in fact has no self-respect. Respect yourself by respecting others. Ngicabanga ukuthi ubaba uNgobese la usitshele ngokuthi how to be a responsible citizen of this country. Now njengoba sikhuluma kakhulu nabantu abasha, engenzeka baba baholi abasha kulelizwe sikulo, engathi besingayisika ipattern okushiwoyo, sikwazi ukuphumela lapha ngaphandle, sibe ngamanye alama champions who speaks peace, who speaks solutions, who go out there babe ngabavikeli babantu besifazane nezingane. Sizoqhubeka siye kwisikhulumi sethu esilandelayo oku Honorable Ntuli ozosipresentela on types of criminal activities that young people commit lapha ngaphandle and statistics of imprisoned young people, the impact of gender-based violence and femicide on our society, what more can be done to put an end to this epidemic, especially in the period of COVID-19. Honorable Ntuli, I'm sure usekhona hayi sengimbonile.
Program Director Chairperson, thank you very much for the opportunity that you have given to me to make a representation to our young men in this seminar today. And Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ndobe, the Premier of our province, Ubabu Kuzen in absentia, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Quality of Life Standing Committee, umama Mbatha-Cele, umfundisi osivulele ngomkhuleko ubaba uDuyaza, a leadership that have also been part of making presentations to this august house, officials of different departments present, and provincial head of state agency present here. Good afternoon. Chairperson, may I concur with Honorable Mbatha-Cele that it is not nice out there when you are in correctional service centers. You learn to do many bad, wrong, and disgusting things. So for you to land there, it is actually something that we should avoid as much as we can. May I also say that today has been a very bad day for us in KZN when Minister Cele was presenting the crime statistics for the country. And I'm saying it was very bad and very sad for me in that when I spoke to him in the morning, he did indicate to me that our province is actually top in the country in terms of different violations of the right of other people. And that is two of our stations of Inanda and Umlazi, where rape cases and murder cases are in a rise. Babu Ngobese, it is soul-provoking to hear you speaking with our youth and Utatewetu Dr. Philanndwa. I really appreciate that. Chairperson and honorable members who are participants from different formations, it is my pleasure to be afforded an opportunity to participate at this young men seminar. This program is not only significant because it is a men's month, when we focus on issues facing men in the home, at work, and society at large, but also because men are critical partners and role players in advocating gender equality. One cannot begin to tackle issues facing men without dealing with gender equality. To this end, combating gender stereotypes and sexism, preventing violence against women, and achieving balanced participation of women and men in political and public decision-making structures are our utmost priorities. The scourge of gender-based violence is one of our persistent crime that needs serious attention. And I'm glad, Honorable Chairperson Kapashe, that the young men that you have today may learn and be counted to be part of dealing with such a scourge in our country and in our province. The crime directed against women and children is alarming, and all of us need to stand up to defeat this scourge. Our freedom and democracy is meaningless if we fail to protect our women and children. Honorable members, in our province already, we have recorded 4,339 cases of gender-based violence that have been reported to police since March this year. As such, 1,677 suspects have been arrested. I have instructed our law enforcement officers to be extra vigilant, more so as we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. I do wish to assure honorable members that crimes against women and children are our top priorities in our province, and we will be working tirelessly to deal with this scourge. Honorable members, young men have a critical role to play in this regard and in our society. Yet many of them get embroiled in crime at a very young age. In many respects, the central feature of our crime challenge in KZN and the country as a whole involves young men in particular. For example, in the commission of murders in our province, SAP's analysis repeatedly reflects the following features. Over 70% of victims of murder are between the ages of 18 and 40 years. Over 80% of suspects arrested for murder are between 18 and 40 years old. And over 80% of murder victims are males. This profile is a feature of many of the interpersonal crimes that occur in our province. It follows that majority of inmates at our correctional service centers are males within the same age bracket. Moreover, there are currently 21 sentenced young males between the ages of 14 and 17 in correctional service centers, mostly for crimes such as murder, rape, and robbery. There are also currently 11 young males between the ages of 15 and 17 awaiting trials for charges of rape, robbery, murder, and housebreaking. According to the Victim Crime Survey by the Stats SA that was released in 2019, young people are amongst most likely victims in the following crimes: housebreaking, theft of personal property, and assault. Chairperson, honorable members, in order to reduce crime, young men have to receive a special focus. Too many young men are developing what has been termed toxic masculinity. This refers to a view of manhood that admires violence and perceives violence as a necessary to survive and thrive in the society. The Department of Community Safety and Liaison Research on murder, for an example, demonstrates how young men in KZN resort to violence at the slightest provocation. To quote detective interviews in the study, open quote, "People argue and commit murder over stupid things," close quote. Like competition for women whom they only just met at a tavern, or one person bumping into another. In one case, at Osizweni, a murder was committed for 20 rand worth of drugs. This research demonstrates that violence in general, and particularly violence against women and children, is a societal issue that we all have to work towards addressing. This can be achieved through offering skills development and empowerment programs to young people. Honorable members, working with other departments, the various empowerment programs are offered to young people, and these include provision of support services to youth with a disability and their families, provision of protective workshop and residential facilities that offer counseling and rehabilitation services, skills development, education, and recreational programs. Our victims empowerment programs include provision of psychosocial support services such as a trauma debriefing, containment, and ongoing counseling services for victims of crime and violence at Tutuzela care centers, crisis care centers, and victim-friendly rooms. Provision of shelter and white door centers to accommodate victims of crimes and violence. There's also a gender-based violence call center, an SMS line, as well as an SMS-based line for persons with disability. The deaf community members may use the Skype line by adding Help Me GBV to their Skype contacts and start a conversation. This Skype line is manned by social workers skilled in sign languages. Our crime prevention support program includes assessment of young in conflict with the law. Provisions of diversion program include life skills, restorative justice, and substance abuse program. School safety interventions. Honorable members, Chairperson, we continue to work hard in creating a safe environment at our schools to make them conducive to learning and teaching. Working with the Department of Education, we have developed clear working protocols to address the scourge of violence in schools. Since March this year, police have recorded 709 criminal incidents at school. A task team comprising the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, Department of Education, National Prosecuting Authority, and SAP have been established to secure that all these cases are urgently dealt with. Honorable Chair, honorable members, we want to send this very strong message that criminals who are hell-bent on destroying the future of our children have no place in our society. We must all protect our schools as knowledge hubs and essential training centers for our youth. The Provincial Youth Desk has adopted a Junior Station Commander project and implemented it in schools across the province. The goal of this project is to empower young people while they are still in school with leadership skills so that they can effectively participate in structures within and outside their school environment. The department further monitors the implementation by SAPS of the National School Safety Protocol and school safety initiatives the stations undertake. A total of 350 school safety officers have been transferred from the Department of Community Safety and Liaison to the Department of Education. And I'm happy to report that when it was launched in Hammarsdale, a premier for our province, and Honorable Mshengu, the MEC for Education, were actually leading this launch. Honorable members, the department launched district school safety fora in Amajuba and Umzinyati district. A detailed plan for launching similar structures in other districts is in place. Workshop to resuscitate the school safety implementation protocol are in progress, with 2 districts being Ugu and Ilembe district having been completed. Plans to roll out the workshops to the outstanding districts was disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the department is exploring various avenues to ensure that the program is implemented. The workshops will be followed by a clear plan to ensure functionalities of school safety committees. We will then launch the district school safety forum in the current financial year. Honorable members, the campus safety is another strategic project led by the department working with the CPF Youth Desk. Though this program, we are able to engage students in institutions of higher learning. Fortunately, we haven't seen a rise in criminal incidents at tertiary institutions, but we continue to monitor the situation. Honorable members, SEPS-led dialogue on the root causes of instability in the tertiary institution was held at Westville Correctional Service last year. Student fee increase and its fast allocations and accommodation issues were established as the main issue at the forefront of the instability. A campus safety dialogue on crime prevention was held in October 2019 at SATVET College in Umzimkhulu campus in Erikwala district. The department also facilitated an intervention in Zululand University after the incident of violence in September 2019. This intervention contributed to the following developments: established of landlord committee and development of safety plan. The department contracted a service provider to investigate the causes and possible intervention strategy that need to be employed in order to deal with campus safety challenges. The targeted institutions are UniZul, UKZN, DUT Steve Biko Campus, Mangosuthu University of Technology, and Umkhungudlovu Places Land. Chairperson and honorable members, during 2012, the department facilitated the establishment of youth desk under each community police forum, and in 2015, the provincial youth desk was established. Since then, the department has continuously supported crime prevention initiatives of the youth desk and worked hand in glove with these structures in respect of its programs. Furthermore, the National Youth Crime Prevention Strategy unpacks the activities that should be targeted towards all levels of institutions of education. The development of the strategy was finalized during the 2019-2020 financial year. Each province was then tasked to customize it and roll it out with their provinces. The department partnered with SEPS and the Youth Crime Prevention Desk for the finalization of Provincial Youth Crime Prevention Strategy. Once it has been adopted by the Executive Council, it will be cascaded to all the municipalities in our province. Honorable members, the Volunteer Social Crime Prevention Program of the department targets the youth and provides over 1,200 work opportunities to members of the youth and enables them to directly contribute to the fight against crime, either in general or in specific areas such as victims empowerment, border security, and stock theft. Youth empowerment opportunities. Honorable members, with regards to opportunity for youth people, for young people, the Department of Community Safety and Liaison employs 25 interns on a 2-year contract. The department also offers in-service training for 20 students per annum. In collaboration with the Department of Agriculture, the department has trained 10 youth who were previously on the Volunteer Social Crime Prevention Program. Their role will be to disinfect and sanitize offices for the department as and when COVID cases are reported. They will sign a 6-month contract with the department. Honorable members, in the Department of Transport, the Vugaibambe routine road maintenance program is aimed at creating work opportunities and impart skills that are needed in the market for young people. Under this program, 3,200 young people have been employed for manual clearance of road veggies, and 800 of them will be selected for training on accredited modules as part of their exit plan. Under the National Youth Service 850 young people will be trained on accredited modules in the 2020-2021 financial year, and 50 learners are to be trained on accredited bricklaying apprenticeship through the Mbatha-Cele program. The EPWP Directorate has engaged NYDA on the training of 6,000 young people in the Mbatha-Cele program. The trainings were anticipated to commence in April 2020, but were disrupted by the outbreak of the coronavirus. Furthermore, 6,300 young people affiliated to the Mbatha-Cele program will be trained on basic life skills and business management skills by NYDA, and 93 young people were trained on transport management through TITA discretional grant. There is also an additional 1,032 people with disability who will be trained on accredited modules. Training is anticipated to commence in the current financial year. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, in closing, we remain committed to the development of young people to enable them to have the skills and confidence to take up leadership positions in society, whether it is in business, whether it is in politics and or civic life. I'm sure, honorable members, you would agree with me that this centenary is dedicated to Honorable to Babu Kwala. He, with all the discussions that have ensued today, he would never be happy, even if he was alive, to see the situation of crime in our country, especially the crime that is directed to women and children in our country and in our province. And as government, we believe that investing in the youth and paying particular attention to their skills development is crucial to the country's future economic growth. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Ntuli, siyabonga kakhulu amazwi akhayo, amazwi abacijisayo abantu bethu abasha. Kodwa la mina ngithuke khona umyalezo bengifuna uku-eda kubantu abasha yilo nothi mangabe ukhuluma ngeenamba zabantu abasha esebeboshiwe namacala ababoshelwe wona. I just wonder ukuthi baphi labantu abasha ekumele ukuthi baphume bayokwakha izwe lethu. Baphi labantu abasha ekufuna bayovusa imizi yoyise uma ngabe bospenda isikhathi ejele. Ngicabanga ukuthi akube ireport osinike yona namhlanje ibaqwashisile bakwazi ukubona ububi bokwenza okubi ukuthi isiphetho sako asihle. Ngalena yake kokumosha kakhulu isikhathi ngizocela ke ukubuka nalapha ku social media ngoba khona basilandelayo nakhona ngifunde ama messages abo esiwatholayo. Xulu uthi government need to strengthen the role of civil society into fighting against gender-based violence. Bese kutholandele lapho Mkhize uthi dialogue for both men and women to engage on gender-based violence between men and women. And then bese kuba olandelile lapho abanye abazibhalile educational training for men on circumcision and health issues in general. Uthi omunye Dr. Philanndwa has presented that abantu should be hygienic and be clean all the times, but there is no water on rural areas. Water must be provided to communities not only when there will be elections. Athi omunye wokugcina lana uthi rights for men are disregarded by SAPS. SAPS laugh at them uma ngabe beyo reporter cases nabo GBV ngoba phela GBV again bakhona nabanye besilisa nabo aba ekumele bayo reporter lamacala bathi kodwa uma befika lapha emaphoyiseni agcina abenza inhlekisa phambi kwabanye abantu. So it's part of ama messages esiwatholayo ku social media. And then without any delays ngizocela ukuvulela izambeli zethu ukuba zikwazi ukukhomenta baphawule ba-ede makhona la kufuna ba-ede khona babuze befuna ukubuza khona. Asizameke ukuthi konke esizokusho la sizama ukubamba into 3 minutes. Kodwa also uma ngabe isikhuluma esingaphambi kwakho sesikushile kade uzokusho siyongabukhona isidingo sokuphinda futhi ukuphinde lokho. We know ke ukuthi ikhona indlela yokuphakamisa izandla la kodwa I know ukuthi kwabangene ngama-phones kuba nzima ukuphakamisa izandla. Sizozinotha-ke izandla mhlawumbe uzozisho igama sinothe siyobeke sesilandelana sizozisho nje zonke sizothatha nje zonke izandla bese ke siyakwazi ukuvala bese siyaqala kokuqala bese siyayiminimize ku 3 minutes. Ngicela ke esokuqala isandla kuzoba ubani? Ungcebo Mazibuko. Kukhona Ungcebo Mazibuko lo. Okay.
Spiso Dlamini.
EFF Mazwiplose nje.
Okay. Ungcebo Mazibuko ngibona uAyanda izithi Tshomela ngisho kahle. uAyanda Tshomela ukhona umunye futhi usengehlisa uAyanda sengimnothile.
Mazwiplose
ubani?
Mazwiplose.
Mbatha-Cele. Am I correct?
Mazwiplose che.
Mbatha-Cele. Okay.
Mazwiplose.
Is it Tabelo Ntshangase? Tabelo Ntshangase.
Majola Lungani.
Okay.
Majola Lungani.
Kube uAyanda Hadebe.
Mazwiplose che. Mazwiplose.
Ukhona bengakambali?
Spiso
Dlamini.
Yes.
Unjabulo Tshaba.
Majola Lungani che.
Kukhona 211 ubani?
Unjabulo Tshaba Xulu ngesandla.
Sawubona honorable Nzwaki.
Spiso Dlamini, yes.
James.
Yes.
James.
Spiso Dlamini.
Ukhona James.
Akekho simshiye ngaphandle.
Spiso Dlamini.
Mazwiplose.
Can we now start ngongcebo Mazibuko thina abanye ke mongakabi ku floor please mute i-speaker ne-camera. Ukhona engambalanga?
Recognize.
Ubani? U-unmute lapha ku-speaker siza ukuthi ubani?
Chairperson. Is recognized as chair. Program director.
Nangu overrun ibuku.
Yes.
Program director. You're trying to get to your attention.
Okay, uplose sesikubonile plose.
Thank you.
Ukhona umunye ngibone kubhalwe u-ATM delegate.
Yebo, Majola Lungani. ATM.
Ubani?
ATM Majola Lungani.
Ngicela u-unmute imic yakho.
Spiso Dlamini che.
Unjabulo Tshaba.
ATM Majola Lungani.
Okay, so bhala uJames ACDP.
Thanks.
Nganti Sifiso Dlamini bese simtholile.
Okay.
ATM
Alright.
Majola Lungani.
So are we all covered, colleagues?
Uthabo Makubane.
Okay.
Nonjabulo Tshaba.
Sizoqala ke
Ayanda Tshomela.
our first speaker will be Ungcebo Mazibuko. Thina kabanye please.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible? Am I audible, Chair? Ngezwakala Sihlalo.
Siyakuzwa mfundisha Qhuba.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members of the Legislature, and my fellow colleagues. I think firstly, one must appreciate and welcome the presentation that have been presented before us. But I have some few comments and 2 questions. The first question will go to the last presentation made by Honorable Ntuli. He made mention of many programs that they have as the department. Akhulumisana nento ye-rehabilitation, rehabilitation programs, kubantu abasuke bengama-inmates and so forth. So I request him to give us a clear picture on, according to their analysis, are these rehabilitation program effective? Are they producing the desired outcome out of them? I'm asking this because many a times abantu okuyibona esibathola besemajele, abantu asebeya kabili kathathu and so forth, abantu abane-chance abanamathuba amaningi okuthi bebesejele abantu abake baba khona before. So now that tells you ukuthi I think to a certain extent these programs, they are not yielding the desired outcome. So I want to know what they've evaluated them. If they did, what is their view or what is their analysis on it? The second one, let me start by appreciating the fact that the department ephathelene nezokuphepha iyasebenzisana kakhulu nezikole, because it's so touching to hear statistics that point at the fact that abantu abaningi abazithola sebeboshiwe ingabe ukurobha na ukudlwengula and so forth are people who are supposed to be school going, as school goers. In fact, the age that he has alluded on, abantu kumele ngabe basasesikoleni, okusho ukuthi kune role ethile i-department yakwa-safe ne-department yakwa-education okumele idlale, especially at a pre-tertiary level. That's why there was a call to say each and every school kumele sibe nayo social worker, because some of other people, young people, they misbehave not because they want to, but because they lack izinto ezifana nama role model in a family. I think Honorable Ndobe did highlight into our broken families that we're coming from as Black people in the main, because most of us, we grew up in families where we don't have a father figure. A father had to go and work in Johannesburg, come back only once a year or twice a year. As a result, you don't have a role model at the home as a young man. Ekhulayo ukhula unaleyo nane authority that you are given by the religion, culture, and the economic patterns, of course. So I think those are the issues that we are faced with that need to be addressed when we want to deal with the challenge of patriarchy, because it cannot be taken away the fact that we are living in a patriarchal society that gives almost absolute power and authority to male over females. You can count even in parliament, you can count even in strategic positions, you can count even in the private sector. And the last one, I think the government is doing much to address the question of gender equality. But now the private sector is not seen to be proactive in complying with that. As much as uhulumeni eqinisekisa ukuthi kuma strategic positions bakhona abantu besifazane in parliament and wherever where ama decisions are being taken, bakhona abantu besifazane. But which tool are we using to check ukuthi ngabe ne private sector is doing the same? Because the challenge le affects umphakathi wonke, and we need to be seen, both public and the private, working together in being exemplary and displaying this picture of saying we are all equal regardless of gender. I think mhlambe ilokho umuntu akafisa ukuthi ekufake. I think the last one eyaku Dr. Philanndwa, kunala there's ama myth acirculatiswayo mayelana nezinto zo circumcision, and I think the Department of Health needs to be proactive. It's the last one, Chair. Circumcision, is it associated with pain, dryness, and difficult reaching organism? Because abantu begcine bengabi nomundla wokuyocircumcise. If not, the department needs to play a particular role in dismissing such myths in the public. Thanks.
Our next speaker, Ayanda. Asisitholanga isibongo sakhe. Please, let's adhere to the 3-minute rule, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, Chair, I would like to thank the committee. Okay, la ngiphakamanungi nje ambadlwana esinemoto.
Ngicela Ayanda usondele kancane eduze kwespeaker sakho.
Akazwakali Ayanda.
You right man?
Akabi kahle hle kodwa qhubeka cishe sizozwa kancane.
Okay, Chair. Ephakamela umama onare uShapeson umama uPhathi. Unothe ukuthi uPresident wala eSouth Africa uRamaphosa usekhiphe imali elisana nani gender-based violence. Mina ngiyabuza ukuthi eyani le mali ngoba sekuthatha ukubheka manje ama-campaigns futhi ke ziningi izinto futhi ezibusana nani le gender-based violence. Okubuhlungu zenzi against lamadoda lawa enzani enza i-gender-based violence. Hayi ukuthi ngiyaseka vele into abenzayo ayikho right. Kodwa engikusho ukuthi hayibo ngingele icala lena. Abanye bakhule endaweni ezingekho right ezeshilo honorable.
Ayanda please phinda futhi usondele espeakeni sakho uyabaleka.
Che ngiyazwakala.
Uyazwakala ke manje but ungahlehli kakhulu please stay next to your mic. Ngoba ngesikhathi uhlehla uhambe ngathi usovumbuka. Okay, let's try now.
Okay. Sengisho ukuthi ubona uDeputy Speaker ubaba ushilo ukuthi isikakhulu ukuthi sikhula yini ama different background. Ngiyasho ukuthi if thina siyi-society sa-creator kwanto against amadoda i-gender-based violence. Ngiyabuza ukuthi why singabuzi ngoba nabo kuyenzeka ukuthi abazithandi ngoba yini i-background abakuyona bakhule vele nje ukuthi i-abuse into yakhona so bakhula naleyo mhlawumbe abangi-depression kodwa thina senzani sibasejele itshela limshumi into emenzayo yenza ukuthi abujani abe wese ukuthi-ke mna asiboni isidingo sokuthi sibasejele asibasejele phela siba-provide phela nosizo ukuthi sibanike ama-social worker ama-psychologist ama-therapist abazakwazi ukuthi ukhulume nabo bazi ukuthi kahle kahle edala ukuthi basebenza manje ngoba if sabavalela that's not a solution ngoba bazakhupha if ephuma ku-NA okay abantu laba bangophethile uzayenza yini ephutha leli belenzile kuba yini ukubasha ngazi sike sike sasho ukuthi sebethe ngane umnandi thini sebejwayele nawubona ukuthi kayimosha kushaya bese ngasathi naba ijele asalizwa banokuthi uyamgodusa esejele sengivala nje angithi babontuli leyo ukuthi umuntu kumele sihambe until find the right spot uyabona ngayo ukuthi i-right spot abantu abangathulanga yilento ukuthi sekuba khona ama-single parent njenganje ukuthi umuntu uthe wahlangana nesiport kepha efuna ukusikhulula wasikhulela leso sport ngoba ukuthi kungasona i-sport sakhe leso waphinde wahamba bese le sport sasala-ke ngebhadi wasala kwaba khona lo mntwana lo umshiyile wangasanga wamkhulisa bese-ke yenza ukuthi umama gcine semkhulisa yedwa umntwana lo angifada fika futhi nalo alisamfundi umntwana lo bese-ke untuli uthena ngathi ama-cases ngathi awu-100 and something if ngizwe kahle wani kwakezikoleni manje mina ngiyabuza-ke ukuthi bantuli i-image ethayo sethu ukuthi esikolweni letha amaphoyisa akhona ama-kesi kanti kuselokishini ave lapha khona ama-future leaders ave laphana kumele siprovide social work siprovide ama-psychologist azakhuluma nabo athi ngibancane phela umuntu alwamsetshela should we know e-future lapho sizibonele wena isidingo ngiyabonga
Siyabonga kakhulu Ayanda. Our next speaker will be uSithabelo Ntshangase. please lower your hand mangabe usukhulumile and unmute your video ne speaker as well. Thank you. And then to our presenters as well, please note your questions in case kumele ukuthi uphendule uma ngabe sekuphelile. Thank you. Our next speaker sithe uSithabelo Ntshangase.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Chairperson engeke kakhulu nginkulu nento lesinazo la speaker nabephakathi phakathi okwami nje comment iphinde kube question ngibhekise khona ku
sondela futhi Sithabelo nawe asikuzwa kahle.
Oh yes, Director manje.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I-comment yokuqala ukuthi like regarding to mhlambe ama-cases esiwa-reportayo la kuma-police station. Like if for example ukuthi now amaphoyisa awabe sort of like ukuthi mhlambe kube ne-training aba-undergoyo yona since nangabe kuzoba nama-case azo-report against bona. Asingasho ukuthi mhlambe noma akhona na but akube nohlelo ukuthi ayalandelela ngempela ngoba kubuhlungu ukuthi umuntu ayo-reporta i-case but then nendlela abafike welcome ngakhona angafile endlela ukuthi mhlambe nangalesitime nangabe kwenzeka kuzophinde iqhubeke begcine sebesaba lokwe-police station ngoba mhlambe indlela nabo abaphethe ngakhona. Ngibuye futhi-ke ibuyele indaba ima-social worker bekhona umfethu la wenza ukuthi bethintile just edawude okuncane ukuthi even kuma-primary levels lakuncane khona cause izulu siyasho ukuthi isigodi sesemanzi okusho ukuthi sinzima ukuthi usigobe usungkhulula usumdala ukuthi ungagube kushe but nangabe sisemncane bakhona whereby ukuthi kunama-grade aphansi kwaze khona ukuthi if ingane ibehave ngale ndlela le iyakwazi uku-align social worker ukuthi okay le ngane le ifesa ama-direction kanje ikwazi ukuthi as early age ekwazi ukuthi ikhuzeke. Yiyo futhi ngithe ukuthi enye ezinto mhlambe eziba sezilidele ukuthi mhlambe let's give women angisho ukuthi mhlambe akwenziwe sekafana kuyakhulunywa nawo but indlela ukuthi ngakhona
usushone phansi futhi Sithabelo ungabaleki kakhulu.
Oh okay ngikhuluma okusho ukuthi bese phinde sibuyele futhi ukuthi ama-women ukuthi i-power benikeze imali because kubuhlungu ukuthi mhlambe sikuleke with i-culture siwakhona ukuthi mhlambe nje kufana mhlambe mandulo ukuthi ongubaba umuntu ishamthetho okumele enze yonke ukuthola ukuthi manje nengane esikhule kona pha zigcina nazo zibona okay futhi umuntu wesifazane wenziwa ngale ndlela le. So ngithi ukuthi emakhaya nako imfundiso like ezamadla kungabi ukuthi mhlambe thina kuphela nabo abakhulu andabona abatraina ngendlela yokuthi ingane phela iyafunda ukubona kwenzeka kanjani. Ngiphinde-ke ngisengigcina nje lapha forum director ngibuza question lapha ku-doctor ukuthi ebekhuluma i-presentation nayo wafaka i-vasectomy ukuthi is it permanent surgery mhlawumbe ukuthi nangabe eseyenzile like you won't get mhlawumbe abantwana or mhlawumbe kanjani ngicela i-clarity lapho kakhulu udokotela. Ngiyabonga kakhulu forum director.
Siyabonga kakhulu buti ngicabanga ukuthi we have set it up itone ke manje yesikhathi ushaye njengoba sinjalo. Siyabonga sicabanga ukuthi nabanye bazolandela kanjalo. Sizocela kulandele umnqobi Mseleku. Sithabelo, please unmute your mic and your video, please.
Greetings, Speaker. Hello.
Siyakuzwa but qhubeka.
Oh, bengicela ukuphindela emuva endabeni lo presentation oyenzile before allow ama-guest speakers. Ngicela ukubuza what is being done to address the issue of violence against abantu besilisa.
Ukhathile kancane ngicela ngiphinde futhi uqale phansi question.
Oh, ngicela ukubuza ukuthi what is being done uku-addressa i-issue ehamba ne-discrimination ye-gender based abuse against abantu besilisa uma beyo-reporta amacala bema-police station.
Siyabonga buti qhubeka ke futhi we are noting.
Okay, ngicela ukuphinda
ngizophendula egcineni yonke imibuzo ezobe sibuziwe.
Okay, ngiphindele endabeni ka Dr. Philanndwa. Ngicela ukubuza ukuthi isakhona yini le-outreach program le ayenziwa uNew Start eminyakeni edlule ukuthi baye ezikoleni bayobheka ukuthi bakhonani abantu besilisa aba-willing to undergo i-voluntary medical male circumcision because kulezi zikole eziclose nasekhaya angisaboni ukuba kufika abantu abazoletha ama-forms azocela i-consent ukuthi bahambe bayo-circumcise abantu besilisa. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu buti. U-Ayanda Hadebe.
Greetings, Program Director, ngibingelele the Speaker, Honorable MEC and delegates akhona la namhlanje. Well, okwami nje Speaker, Program Director uku-add nje lapho ama-points esengwazile after ama-speakers ethu akhuluma into ebalulekile namhlanje ngokufundiswa kwabantu besilisa in terms of ubudoda babo kule province yaseKwaZulu-Natal. So kahle mina I think le program le is a good initiative esiqalile and I program engafuneke ibe sayekelwe. So upresident has introduced the district model esetshenzwa ngayo focused more on districts. I think even now lama programs esinawo we must focus them ukuthi siwatholisa kanjani kwabanye abantu abasilisa abakhona kwi province, because I think this is the only program throughout the whole year where abantu besilisa sebefundise ngayo. Ayingenzeki kuphela le program just because inyanga ya July, but on daily basis and daily time we must teach ourselves as men. Ingakho I would propose that even the education system yala KwaZulu-Natal or the whole of South Africa ibe nayo iprogram of ukuthi abantu besilisa mhlambe ngolesihlanu oluthizeni we are going to teach abantu abesilisa abasho ukuthi nakho kwenzeka kanje, because le ndaba of having broken households iyona kahle ebanking ukuthi asinawo ama-father figures. Umuntu wesifazane ngisho kwabona it's a mixed society ehlukene, abantu besilisa abangapha abantu besifazane abangapha abasithembani sonke ndawonye, but kufuneka sibe nayo i-point of saying ukuthi siyafika manje we have identified the problem ukuthi kahle i-broken family asinayo, but we must teach thina njengabantu siyayidinga ukufundisa ukuthi kwenzeka kanjani, siyadinga ukufundisa umuntu wesifazane uphathwa kanje. So le program change obisiqalile ayingayeki ukuphela but ayiqhubeke njalo. Ngibuye wakhuluma la ubaba uNgobese wakhuluma ngendaba enkulu ukuthi even no Jesu uJesu wayesibonelo esihle. Mina I'll say even nathi siphindeleni kwiBhayibheli raise a verse lapho lethi ndodana bheka umama, mama bheka indodana. Lapho leyo point ibalekile because even bingeke zishiwe kuthiwa ndodana bheka umama, mama bheka indodana, because we need the unity between the son and the mother, we need the unity between the father and the daughter. So kubalekile. That is all nje Program Director. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga kakhulu Bungane. Sibalikhulu uSifiso.
Thanks Chair. Greetings to you, Program Director, and greetings. Let me just say all protocol observed. I think this is a very crucial program to have. Let's start by appreciating the KZN Legislature for such an initiative. Well, look, my contribution will go to Dr. Philanndwa, because Dr. we are facing a very great taboo, especially emakliniki angasemakhaya emphakathini, whereby when you go to ask for a condom, if we are a scholar, you get onesi abadala abazothi uzoyenzani i-condom wena njengengane. So how does the Department of Health addresses those taboo when it comes to sexuality, especially in local health institutions? Because these facilities and these programs are there in our clinics, but thinking access, even if you go for testing, there's a separate room for people who are going to test for HIV. There's a separate room for other people who are coming to attend the clinic. So already there's a stigma attached to testing for HIV or even accessing a treatment. So how do we address that taboo, Dr. Philanndwa? Going to umhlonishwa lapha uNtuli, it's a very great presentation asiphe. But what I would just like to add is that how effective is the diversion program? Because you find that mhlawumbe umuntu esamncane esayifundela isikole ahambe alingeka antshontshe chocolate esitolo azithole sene-criminal record, which will be a dent for the rest of his life. So we must kick in the diversion programs, your necros, whereby we prevent ukuthi umuntu athi esamncane esakhula then abe senesigwebo sentambo sokuthi ezoba ne-criminal record for the rest of his natural life. So now how do we address that? Because we are also luring them to living a life of criminality. And now when they are in prison as well, how do we ensure that? Because there are people who are arrested for petty thefts, for petty crimes, if I may put it like that. but they get intertwined with hardened criminals. So how do we ensure that this rehabilitation does happen? And now we get back to the issue of the gender-based violence. We think that actually it is true, Deputy Speaker Ndobe, there's this toxic masculinity producer patriarchy, because patriarchy is produced by the capitalist system, but we are not going to go there, program director. But now, how do we ensure that, because sometimes ubaba Ngobese ukhulumile nge-emotional maturity, because most people are not emotionally matured. And also there are societal factors, because many people are frustrated, they are dealing with issues, especially young people, because right now in the country we are sitting with 30.1 unemployment rate. So how do we ensure that we keep young people engaged? You know, how do we draw closer opportunities of employment, opportunities of access to business or starting businesses, so that they continuously remain engaged? Because because they are dealing with a lot of frustrations, and they don't know how to express these emotions. So scapegoat, and in most cases are their loved ones. So how do we keep our young people engaged, continuously engaged? So these programs such as this, as my colleagues have indicated before me, that they need to happen consistently, not just in the month of July. Event because it's Men's Month, then gonna start August, it's going to be Women's Month, like that. So we must ensure that these programs, they happen on a continuous basis, so that young people are continuously rejuvenated, so that they know how to treat women. Even in local municipalities where we are, these programs must be there. And Ubabu MEC, Ubaba Ntuli has touched a critical issue of a provincial youth desk, because these are some of the structures that you can utilize, but we do not have easy access to them. Sisesibonga nje siyacela access to these structures alithintile Ubaba Ntuli akwazi ukuthi abantu abasha ba-access. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu Sibalikhulu. Kukhona esingalibonanga igama lakhe kodwa bekuvela kuba u211. Azi ubani u211 la. And then I still see izandla lezi saphakamisiwe, I hope abakakhulumi lapha.
Chairperson uPlus bonga ngamfaka.
And ukhona uPlus uyena ozolandela after u211.
U-ATM
ulungani esingazazi ukuthi ubani. Abazolandela la kukhona lo 211, kube khona uMazwi Blose, ATM rep, kube uJames ACDP.
Undaba enhle yena ungena nini ngoba ngiphakamisile lesihlalo. Siyakhathala lesandla lesi.
Ngicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe okay, ake simfake as u211 undaba enhle.
Bohlalo, yebo.
Okay, undaba enhle uzongena emva kwa James, cela kungena uMazwi Blose.
Number 1.
Thanks.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Maybe nje ake sibonga ama presentation today enziwe wonke. Sibonga ama speakers. But as the EFF chair, we would like to release also our disappointment, because I think the topic for today, it really had to speak with the responsibility of young men for a free gender-based violence society. But as was one of my solutions in terms of how do we do that. I mean, uyakhuluma ukuthi sisivikele kanjani sabantu abasha, and also MEC Ubaba Ntuli uyakhuluma nge correctional services and rehabilitation. But we need to speak ukuthi as young men, how do we prevent or we contribute in society so that society become a free gender-based violence society. I think we should have been given an opportunity, Slal, to make presentations as opposition parties, so that we provide some sort of guidance and leadership in terms of what needs to happen in order ukuthi sikhulise abantu abasha abancane. Because njengoba sihleli la ngiyalalela siyavumelana kunane agreement esiba khona amongst us, a patriarchal in its nature. Ethi there are broken homes, there are no father figures in families. Therefore, we are then saying these women who are raising these children by their own, kube kuyinkinga yabantu besimame, that's on itself. We must also identify why is it that they are broken families? Whose fault is it? It's the fault of men. That's the first start. But secondly, we are also then saying the women who are raising their children on their own, it is them who are then teaching these young boys patriarchy. Because now these boys are growing up without their fathers, therefore they go to society and they become patriarchal. So an agreement of this meeting, which I do not agree with, I think had we been given an opportunity, we are going to give guidance. Maybe as a suggestion, Stan, I would like Chairperson with quality of life, maybe amongst their program, I reconfigure such a program, and then maybe just my presentation per se, maybe we are given an opportunity to send my presentation and say what must happen. As a last parting shot, there was a speaker here who was invited to speak about young men. MK. In his articulation, I was very disturbed, program director. As young men, focus endaweni esochamela kuyona, making a reference as if abantu besimame igigi nje amadoda afanele achamele kuzona, singachamele igigini eziningi sichamele isigigini esiwani. That sort of analogy or umongabe ufanekisa abantu besimame in that sense, it's patriarchal in its nature because it reduces a role of society abantu besimame. So there's a lot of patriarchal mentality that we need to get rid of as young men, and it's instilled. Leo patriarchal, so it comes from Obaba Betu, it comes from our brothers, it comes from us as young men, and that's why we then need to rethink how then do we deal with such issues. But again, as I'm saying, I can't make any contributions for now because we are just talking about some departments that came here to present. But the core crux of the matter was how do we contribute for a free gender-based society? We have not answered that question in this meeting. Maybe it needs to reconfigure, and then we are given an opportunity to make those presentations. So we provide the leadership as the EFF because we know what needs to be done. Thank you, Chairperson.
To our next speakers, I would love to ask our speakers, please, we are dealing with a societal matter here. Let's try not to push this into a political debate or you want to show which party. We are not that interested. Okwamanje is to deal with the pandemic that is facing our women out there. That platform where we debate politics will come up, and then we go and discuss issues the politics. But on this one, let's be sensitive enough to deal with the issues that are relevant to the matter that is in front of us. So nje bengizocela kanjalo manje senze kanjalo kuzokwazi ukusilekelela. Asicele umfowethu khona bebhalwe ATM.
Yebo sihlalo.
Ubani igama mfowethu?
Lungani Majola.
Lungani Majola.
Yes.
Siyabonga bhuti ungaqhubeka.
Yes, othi ngihlale phezulu kwalokudaba. Ngicela nginamaphuzu nje athi awomabili sihlalo. Ngiqale ngibingelele nje nonke lapho enikhona. Point number 1, we need to discuss lento yokuthi inyanga yabantu besilisa. Because masithi inyanga yabantu besilisa lento siyenza ibe ne time frame, shuthi ngale kwenyanga yabantu besilisa, shuthi sesingabuyela futhi siphinde sibe yilezi zilwane lezi esizona. That is number 1. Number 2, we need to deal nokuthi ke ama characteristics omuntu wesilisa ayini. Umuphi lo muntu esifuna ukumshape in the future. Because into eyenzakalayo sicula inkinga but asiqhamuki neyisombululo ukuthi umuphi umuntu wesilisa simfunayo ukuthi abe nje yipi role model. Because into eyenzakala sinama example esiwatholayo but ama characteristics noma indlela umuntu wesilisa kumele ahambe ngayo abe yiyo. Asikatholi noyedwa umuntu wesilisa obekwayo phambi kwethu kuthiwa umuntu wesilisa unje. Siphila nje impilo yokuthi akekho umuntu ongazazi inkinga zomuntu wesilisa. Indaba zo gender based violence akekho umuntu ongayazi. Izinto esidiscusswe la namhlanje izinto esizaziyo but sishawa ukuthi ke manje ke izike iqhamu zalezi zinto lezi. So hlalo sengivala nje angifuni ukuba mude. Ngifuna ukuthi ke eyintweni ethe zadiscussa namhlanje ukubonga nje kakhulu nanokuthi le seminar namhlanje ibe usizo kakhulu nami uthi ngifunde kanye nomfowethu lengihleli naye la. ukuthi sifune lezi zinto eziningi. Masibuyele emphakathini sesiyazi ukuthi iziphi izinto ezidingakalayo, iziphi izinto esifuneka kuzenze. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Hlala.
But Chair, they are not observing.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu bwethu. Sicela uJames ACDP.
Angibonge Mbatha-Cele. Ngibingelele bonke abakhona kulendlu lomhlangano. Mhlawumbe nje ngenxa yesikhathi sami angisuke ngihlale. Ngicabanga ukuthi umama uDokotela la uveze ukuthi umongameli kukhona imali ayifakile emkhankasweni wokulwa nabantu olwa nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane. Nanokuthi akhona amanye ama-organizations of which asebenza ukwenza lo msebenzi lowo mhlawumbe mangasho njalo. But-ke the worrying point is that there are visibility emphakathini mhlawumbe endaweni ezisemakhaya isikhathi esiningi asiziboni ama-organization mhlawumbe edlala indima ezifokumisa amahlangano mhlawumbe represent different political parties, of which I believe ukuthi we are expected after this meeting to go and spread this message that has been spoken in this meeting. I therefore suggest noma-ke ukuthi how about these meetings give birth to events that can be maybe in regions or in different towns where this awareness ingaspreadeka khona. I think ingaba effective so that we make it fashionable in the sikhuluma ngayo la emphakathini wakithi. Lastly, Chairperson, Program Director, ngicela ukukhuluma lapha nomphika. Engingabhekisa la kumphemba ukuthi la eSouth Africa kuvela sengazi ukuthi-ke asinawo amajele, sinama-correctional services. Mhlawumbe nje ngenza isibonelo sokuthi kukhona umuntu eminyakeni odlule noma eleya minyaka owake wahenga izingane ezo-6. Ngicabanga ukuthi kunama-cases noma kukhona izinto ezingamacala ezikhombisa ukuthi lo muntu isimo akusono sasingadlulungisiswa ebese sabona isigameko lapho umuntu athi mesenze kukhombisa ukuthi ukujeziswa okusho ukuthi usedinga idele. So singathi eSouth Africa noma kumhlonishwa umphemba eSouth Africa kuvela isidingo sokuthi siyawadinga amajele ukuthi abantu abenze izigameko zangempela eziyicala nesisindo bajeziswe ngaphandle kokuthi bethathu nje lapha ejele lapha
ukhathile manje bhuti usekhona James engathi James ukhathile you are now breaking.
Yes, yebo ngisekhona.
Oh, sicela urepe apho ke please.
Yebo.
Yes.
Angazi. Okay, ukubheka uthemba la. Yebo.
Yes, lo bese sizwile le kaMphemba namajele.
Oh yes, ngicela ukuthi ngiqedileke lapho. Angibreakanga.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Undaba enhle.
No, thank you Sihlalo. I hope ukuthi ngiyazwakala. Number one. No, colleagues, thank you for the opportunity in attendance here wonke umuntu. Ngiqale nje la kuBabu-Cele. Indeed, a storm precipitated by the season will be over. Istorm esakhiwa abantu that we should have a problem with, and lento esikhuluma ngayo into that is socially constructed. which is gender-based violence. But in Ndobe, Ndobe touched on some things that are very important. He touched on our family values, touched on religious beliefs, but my zombie lazy. They also include a constitution as South Africa because these things clash. So our society finds itself very confused, especially our parents and teachers. For example, Ndobe, I'm going to pose a question to you. We have section 10, subsection 1 of the South African Schools Act, which stipulates that no one may administer corporal punishment at a school against a learner. So leo discipline, the form of discipline aysekho. But then we Ndobe, you find Proverbs 23 verse 13 to 14. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with the rod, you will save his soul. No Hebrews we are these are just things that are there in society that confuses society, because you have a constitution, section 1C of the constitution, South Africa, everything that is said with constitution is supreme. Whatever falls underneath that should not be, or rather it ayinaso isindo. The constitution ehamba phambili. But another person will argue that the Bible yona constitution yami. So people are confused. Teachers are confused in schools. And then you have this problem precipitating itself. Charity begins at home. In school, you learn academically, but there's also a hidden curriculum. That's where these children bafunda izinto njengokubhema, befunda ukulwa, beba nale sense of violence in society. So teachers cannot administer what they should be administering because we're confused. So that's the problem that we tend to face. Now, the question is then, how do we link all of these things? What do we administer? What do we use in order to ensure that ingane ikhula kahle? Ngoba lento yonke lezinto ekukhulunywa ngazo la ziqala enganeni. Ngikhulume no-doctor. Doctor, I just want to know, I heard on the news lately in terms of HIV prevention, because there's another societal issue. We've heard that amantombazane have been given as this new innovation, Yamaringi, that works as a PEP pill. My question, or rather, my plea is that can we also give males this PEP pill, just in case umuntu be exposed to the virus, but I told prior to him even being exposed, just in case eba exposed, angadinga ukuthi ayimtholampilo, but ikhona on hand, because ama condoms yakwazi ukuyinika ingane. Can we also give them this PEP pill? Mazibuko, you had a comment, commentile ngothisha ne relationship between teachers and the police. Mazibuko, I'm working for the Department of Education. Sinenkinga la, Chief. There's no communication between the police and education, and maybe the speakers should address that. How do we create synergy between the police and the Department of Education and social workers, because there's nothing of that sort. Siyaphela akanamadata yaphela kodwa ngiyabonga sihlalo ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu buti. Ngizocela ukuthi ngoba sekokugcina undabenhle. Ngizocela ukunikezela Honorable Ntuli aphendule, just to wrap up for about 3 minutes, then bese sibuyisela ku Premier to give us his address. Mpemba.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I do want to express my gratitude to all members that have actually participated and commented on issues that were presented to them. I would take it those comments were in a way, enhancing our presentations, and they were coming up with some solutions. As we said earlier, that this seminar seeks to address some of the issues that were raised by all of us. And indeed, we take it that we have been assisted by the engagement. I would not attempt to comment on each and every person that had made a contribution to my presentation. Safe to say that indeed, inmates that are released from correctional services, the member is right that we have correctional service center where rehabilitation is being sought as a corrective measure, not as a punitive measure. Now, we do know that some do comply and get rehabilitated, but as it were, because people are not the same, some do not get rehabilitated. And I think that is a societal issue that we all, because before a person gets to jail, that person comes from the family. So families are also having some responsibilities to assist. Indeed, we have learned that some men, when they go to report some gender-based violence and attacked by their women, they tend to be laughing stocks when they get to police and to our centers. And part of the training and things that we are preaching to our officers is that people should be treated in the same way. I really appreciate that almost everybody is saying this has been a very crucial program, an important program, and I think we really appreciate that. In terms of the criminal records, let me just twin it with the statement that has been made by Mr. Bloss that if you get arrested at whatever level and at whatever age, you, after a certain period of time, you do have a chance to apply for an expungement of the criminal record so that you get cleaned and so that you are back to circulation. I don't know. Mr. Bloss has indicated, has expressed his disappointment that our presentation did not come up with solutions, as it were. I think if he could be given an opportunity to get my presentation, all the programs are going to be dovetailed and come up with some solutions. Because if you skill a person, if you give a person an education and skilling and so on, you are dealing with a possible criminal involvement of that particular person. Because most people get involved in criminal activities because they are idling, they are not working, they are not skilled, they are not given opportunities to be working. But I take his point because he is free to make expressions on things that he did not find in our presentation. But I do, as an elder, want to say that I remember he made some analogy on the issue of MK, I guess, Mr. Ngobese Mtlambe, who was speaking about a target of a certain sport. I think the interpretation in my view, is different from Mr. Ngobese and Mr. Bloss, but obviously. But I do want to say respect sometimes plays a very critical role, whether
there's a democracy, there's a freedom of speech, and then so on and so forth. But respect is very important in how we present our cases. It's just something that I just wanted to raise as an elder in particular. But I really feel that, yes, correctional services, some people come back having rehabilitated and some don't. And even if uthola sebekhishiwe ejele babuye babuyele futhi uqinisile kodwa i-government that cares, that has got to take corrective measures other than punitive measures. But all in all, members have the right to indicate what they think the solutions are going to be. And I agree with them. It should not be only July that should be celebrated. It should be a man that will live to protect women and children for the longest period of time that we have in life. And thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Sibonga kakhulu Mphemba. Also kungenzeka kube khona abagcine bengakwazanga ukukhuluma. Sizocela ukuthi basende their issues ebesafuna ukuziletha kule number elandela ku WhatsApp 066 503 2194. And also let's also welcome our Premier. Though with his busy schedule, he also made it to address our seminar. We are saying, yes, you are a leader of the people by able to create isikhathi ukuthi nathi uzos-addressa in this seminar, Premier. Siyabonga kakhulu isikhathi sengisinikeza wena.
Thanks, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson of this program, Honorable Xulu, Honorable Chairperson of our committee, Honorable Mbatha-Cele, the Deputy Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Ndobe, my colleague in the Executive, Honorable Ntuli, MEC for Community Safety and Liaison, Honorable members, the youth who is part of this program, compatriots who are also viewing this program from various platforms. We thank you, honorable members, for taking the opportunity to participate in this session that is the young men's seminar. This seminar takes place as we, together with the whole world, are battling with the threat of coronavirus pandemic. As we battle these threats, it is important that all sectors of our society remain central to the program of government, also the young people of our country. And therefore, we thank you, Chair of the Standing Committee on Quality of Life, for ensuring that we're having this debate. But we also thank MEC Ntuli for his presentation, as well as the address on behalf of the Legislature by our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ndobe. I think, Honorable Ndobe, it is befitting and correct for me to indicate that such a platform is dedicated on an issue of ensuring that we discuss not as political parties, but the youth from across all sectors and ensure that we discuss generally to ensure that we get genuine views of the youth beside their political affiliations. And correctly so, I'm also aware that through the legislature, you always call political parties to speak, especially young people are convened through the youth parliament, where they come in wearing their hats of their political parties, and they then make political reflection on issues. This seminar focuses on the role of boys and young men as agents of change, as agents of growth and development of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and ensure that the province is becoming one of those that is idealized and one of those that attain the goals of the Freedom Charter and become a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and a prosperous province. we are reminded by the United Nations that by current numbers, 70% of sub-Saharan Africa's population is under the age of 80. The forecast also tells us, Honorable Chair, that by 2050, one out of 3 young people in the world will be living in Africa. This also represents the tells us that will be a representation of 743 million of the population of 1.061 billion. That population will be equal to the United States of America and Canada combined. That tells you that Africa is home to a number of people, more than 1 billion, but most of them are youth. And in 2050, at least close to half of them will be youth and living in urban areas. This demographics has a significant implication for our economic activity, public service provision, and the general stability, as young people have been engaging on the issue of gender-based violence, on the issue
ngathi ubalekile
Hawu, ngithi amadatha aphelile. Awu, comrades.
Khuzeni hayi kubalekile
Uqala amadatha please.
Hello.
Hayi uthelelwe wa young man ngokuthi aphela amadatha.
Cela amadatha xabasha.
Benilokhu nidle kumadatha kaPremier.
nocisha ukuthi i-network
Cela amadatha xabasha. Network bo.
Amadatha.
Sizani ukuphila.
Hayi network impela nakimi kubuhici la. I-network bahlonishwa.
Oh yeah, maka siyithi ephuma kubheka.
so cela nje sibekezele kancane. I'm sure it will be sorted just now.
Akuthenga lo mhlonishwa amadatha please.
Umhlonishwa athathe esikhwameni se-COVID, I think, I mean, really.
You are not disciplined. Ochakuneke.
Can we at least get one image of any person?
Engathi kuzophela la wethu amadatha manje.
Yomelelana umuntu omdala uyalindwa bafethu.
Hey, if this was not virtual, we have burst out in song just to wait for the premier while ilungisi mic. But since this is a virtual meeting, there will be no.
Honorable Chair, I'm not sure whether I'm still connected.
Yes, you are now connected, Sihlalo. Ngaqhubeka. Yes, Honorable Premier, you are connected now.
Hello?
Yes, you are now connected, Premier.
Thank you. I'm very sorry for that disconnection. I think it's a place, but I will navigate. Former President wakwaxoxa enye indaba wathi enye indoda yaboshwa yayi-Robben Island for 10 years. Yathi miphume eRobben Island yayiboshwe kade addressa abantu. So yathi miphuma nje yanikwa ithuba loku-addressa yasithi as I was interrupted here. Yaqala lapho yaqhuba. So nami, as the technology failed me on this point, I must indicate that, Honorable Chairperson, the demographics that are depicted by various studies indicates that we need to prepare ourselves for economic activity, public service provision, and state stability that will ensure that young people will have a maximum participation. We are, of course, worried that according to the International Labour Organization, over 160 million of the youth in the third world countries are living in poverty. It is equally said that their unemployment level is increasing in their respective countries. With South Africa having a high unemployment rate of about 30.1%. Therefore, this should now indicate the burden we are having as a responsibility of building the youth for the future. The young man of today faces the prospect of a world that is far different from that of other previous generations. Yet, in the manner that previous youth, it too must stand on the shoulders of those who came before them. We face an unprecedented pandemic and are entering an uncharted territory. Usually, we must face these challenges together and ensure that we work and unite with the people as we continue. Honorable Chair, I believe I'm still audible to you.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. We've taken a collective aim of ensuring that as the society we navigate the challenges that have affected us. It is a pandemic of the coronavirus, but that on its own came on top of another pandemic that was already in existence in our society, that of gender-based violence. We must uproot gender-based violence in all sections of our societies. Wonke ama-generations abakhona abanama-strategic task okumele awalide. I-generation yobaba uMlangeni, obaba uMandela, oHarry Gwala, omama uWinnie Mandela, o-Albertina Sisulu nabanye yaziholela ekutheni sithole inkululeko. But the generation of 1976 is equally celebrated nationally and even globally for its role in the June 16 uprising, which mobilized young people in their numbers to take up arms against the apartheid regime. Whilst the youth of 1980s responded to the call and made South Africa ungovernable and the system of apartheid unworkable, they mobilized for an overwhelming defeat of the apartheid system. So as such, Frantz Fanon remind us, and I quote, each generation must, out of its relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Close quote. To the youth of today, we have a role to play. The future belongs to you. What role our young boys play is determined by the challenges they face today. Their parts in history will be written by their own sweat and tears and their ability to fight stereotypes about the capacity of young people in comparison to the old people. Honorable Chair, I'm happy ukuzwa umuntu omusha namuhla athi asingakhulumi noma ikanjani ngabantu besifazane. Omunye azathi umuntu akabe nomuntu oyedwa achamela kubo as if uyamona umuntu wesifazane. And asebenzise amagama amabi afana nalawo. Lokhu kubuyisa ithemba ukuthi intsha yanamuhla is understanding ama-challenges ebhekene nawo, but is determining its future eyakhayo. Honorable Chair, in the book titled Becoming a Man, the vet Professor Mbatha-Cele decries the uses of the negative term to describe the youth of today. He alludes to a number of terms that have been used referring to young people, whether the lost generation, Yizo, and all others. But he says Becoming a Man explores how adolescent boys negotiate their transition to adulthood in the context of the predominantly working class townships that we live in. And unlike many before, Professor Langa's studies focus not only on the youth in prison, in gangsters, or in the youth committing crime. Instead, his approach emphasizes the focus on positive image of boys in order to construct the positive masculinities that are necessary to create a new society that is gender sensitive and protect women and girls by bringing up responsible boys. I'm sure that Okshiwo Ayanda Hadebe resonate with what Professor Langa was saying. Ukuthi abantu abasha bethu bane-role abangayidlala ngokuthi bayipromote ngokwezemfundo, bazipromote ngokukhanda ama-careers abo a-sustainable futhi azokwazi ukuthi abakhande bangabi sengathi ey'ndaweni la njengabayipresente khona njengeyindlovu ngaphakathi ebantwini. This is in line with the view of our own provincial government, that young people should be the reservoir of knowledge. They should be all material time, the afforded platform to unleash their potential. Indeed, this is the majority of the youth of our country and province who are ambitious and are willing to sweat and sacrifice for the betterment of the circumstances by adopting an alternative version of masculinity, by alternative ensuring that they don't become violent, but embrace non-violent, non-risk-taking, non-homophobic, and non-sexist approach. This entails rejecting the dominant view that a young man needs to be violent, a young man needs to defy teachers' authority at school, or a young man needs to have multiple girlfriends to show that he is really a boy. And I'm sure that uSifiso Dlamini ubekhuluma ngakho lokhu methi amanye lama programs akangagcini nje siwaxoxa la as if a product or they should be resolved at a talk show level, but we must cascade these programs down. And that is what I would want to assure this platform in this session. The transition to manhood should not be defined by violence, risk behavior taking, or exploitation toward girls and women. We must ensure respect, and as indicated, this seminar is an opportune moment for reflection on what we've done so far, and thanks to all of you young people of our province for being bold to tell us what you think of and what should be the priorities that we should engage on. We must assure you we are engaged on a long-term program based on the priorities of the 6th administration. And our priorities are anchored on economic transformation and job creation, education, skills revolution, and health, social wage, and spatial development, human settlement, and the development of local government that is responsible to the needs of the people. We are standing here advancing the program of social cohesion and safety community. But we as people of KwaZulu-Natal should equally make our own contribution to the betterment of Africa and the world and ensure that we are a capable society that will participate in the socio-economic development of our global world as we see it today. In particular, the right to equality, which we discussed, Honorable Deputy Speaker, earlier today, is enshrined to the Bill of Rights in the Constitution and declares that everyone is equal before the law and has a right to equal protection and benefit of law. And therefore, the earlier debate, which was dedicated to the launch of Women's Month, but also dedicated to mark the day, the anniversary of the Pan-African Women Conference, is resonating with this debate and the contribution that a number of you have made today. We continue to pilot programs targeting men and young boys as part of the integration and intergenerational nature of transition from boy into or from being a youth to adulthood. All studies indicate the importance of positive role models for young boys, even when these are not available in the immediate families. And I must affirm that there is no broken family, and as the society we have a responsibility ukuthi sibandishana amanxeba siphile ndawonye. Ngokwesintu akukho umuntu ongathiwa uyintandane, and therefore la sibona khona ukuthi kwamakhelwana akuhambi kahle kumele sibe seduze ukukhava sonke sikwazi ukuthi siye phambili siyisizwe esisodwa. Many boys have grown into responsibility and became adult, not because of what, but because of the manner in which they were nurtured by their parents. The Provincial Men's Forum in KwaZulu-Natal is one of such platforms where we should nurture role model for our youth. And as part of our integral program of the Provincial Men's Forum, there are a number of programs we are coordinating as the Premier's office, but I know that 13 departments have specific programs that are targeting young boys. And these programs are focusing on promotion of culture of human rights, gender equality, the fight against social ills, social cohesion, and economic emancipation. During 2020, the Men's Month, 2019, Honorable Chair, the Men's Month program involved a number of events, including the Provincial Men's Imbizo, Men in Uniform Parade, Men's Dialogue, and Men's Debate. But more so, we convened a number of sessions which were under the program of Boys to Men. Boys to Men was one of the critical programs that we ran throughout KwaZulu-Natal. Dedicated seminars on young men entrepreneurship empowerment were also held. Equally, as reported earlier by M Philanndwa, the issue of the launch of shelters for abused men of all age was prioritized and launched during the 2019. So, it is not that we are just talking from here. And according to our stakeholder strategy, we have a program of ensuring that from the province we create structures to district, to local municipalities, and cascade to ward level. So these programs, I fully concur with Fiso Dlamini that these programs must not end here, but they must go down. It is important that we continue to engage on critical issues. We must highlight the importance of positive male role models. We must focus and ensure to provide a platform for men to engage with other men on important issues that affect them. One issue raised especially by his worship, the mayor of eThekwini, Councillor Kaunda, that we must dissuade ourselves of this notion ethi umuntu wesilisa akakhali, and therefore umuntu wesilisa ukhala ngaphakathi. Ukhala ngaphakathi kusho ukuthi uphila negqubu. We must ensure we create platforms where we engage. Abantu besilisa ba-engage baxoxe. Equally, we must raise awareness on programs ezokwazi ukukhanda abantu besilisa abadala babe nani noku-engageana nabafana. Yingakho sinohlelo oluthi inkunzi isematholini. But defining men's role in the community, family, and in a relationship, a man's role should be defined by care. It should be defined by being responsible and provide protection. We are committed to invest in the development of the youth and young men in particular. We are committed to invest in the tertiary education, vocational trainings, skills development, agriculture and food security, health, labor-intensive job creation opportunities, as well as entrepreneurship. I must take this opportunity to thank the Department of Agriculture for a platform they convene for the youth in agriculture, attended by both young boys and girls, and showing quite a keen interest in growing the agricultural sector as a critical sector that is not fading with time, but that's always. Our programs also seek to engage civil society at large, including the religious sector, the traditional leaders, and all of us should be together in building young people who are going to be the future, and the future we are going to be proud of. And therefore, this generation of young men must play a role in the prevention of teenage and unplanned pregnancy. You must play a role as young men in the prevention of sexual transmission infection. All sexual transmitted infections must be prevented. You must, as young men, play a role in the prevention of drugs, alcohol abuse, and substance abuse. We must together stand against social ills. We encourage our young people to take advantage of economic empowerment programs that are spearheaded by our government. These include the KwaZulu-Natal Youth Business Development Fund, which fund youth-owned businesses, which support entrepreneurship. We have also the YES program or the strategy, which young people must be and ensure that they try to get opportunities that cascade from this strategy. We encourage young men to take their education serious. Chinese would say, you study as if you are going to live forever, but you work as if you are going to die tomorrow. And that is the spirit which we want to inculcate to young men of today. Our country needs you, and we are confident that, like the previous generation of the youth, you will rise to the occasion, and your leadership will be felt once you assume the leadership role of this country in various sectors, in government, in the economy, in the traditional leadership sector, in churches. The future belongs to you. As government, we wish you to remember that we have your best interest at heart. Don't forget that your country needs you, and we will do all we can to invest in your skills, your potential, so that we've got a better South Africa, a better KwaZulu-Natal, but contribute in shaping the global world. Chairperson and all participants, I wish to thank you a lot for this engagement And I'm one of those who have benefited a lot from the engagement we have had today. I thank you, Chairperson.
Siyabonga kakhulu to our premier ukube bekumhlangano impela bengizothi akusha ngicabanga ukuthi ugcwele manje abaya nawo emakhaya. I'm sure going back home bazoqala baba ma pioneers, baba ma leaders to lead, to protect our communities to out there. And then also let's appreciate our women out there and love them. Siyabonga kakhulu kuprime. Asiqhubekeni, and then our next speaker ke manje sizothola a way forward by our honorable chair, Honorable Mbatha-Cele, Chairperson of Quality of Life Standing Committee. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Program Director, Honorable Xulu. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier, for addressing abantu abasha bakwaZulu-Natal abasafisa ukukhuliswa ukuze babe ngamadoda aqotho. Sikuzwile konke khuzeni okushilo. Siyazi ukuthi nabo futhi bazwile bazokuthatha konke lokho okushilo. Nanokuthi you have programs e-ofisini lika Premier akhuluma ngezinto ezithinta abantu abasha, including bona abantu abasha abasebancane besilisa. Sibonge kakhulu ekhuzeni, siyazi ukuthi ubusy kwezinye izinhlelo onazo, kodwa siyabonga ukuthi usenzile lesikhathi esincane ositholile ukuthi ube nathi kule seminar yabantu abasha besilisa bakwaZulu-Natal. Njengomuntu wesilisa okuyena first citizen kwi-province yethu, we appreciate it a lot ukuthi ke ube khona. Thank you, Honorable Premier. Ngiyafisa ke ukuza ne-way forward kukho konke esixoxile namhlanje. But before ngingene kwi-way forward, ngiyafisa nje ukusho ukuthi uma siza kuma platforms anjengala which talks to gender-based violence, asipoliticize, asikhulumi indaba yamapolitiki ukuthi wena we-opposition wena uyini, because ukuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane akunayo ipolitiki. Akekho umuntu wesifazane othi mayehlukunyezwa afika abuzwa kuqala ukuthi which party wena obelonga kuyo bese uyahlukunyezwa. So I'm appealing to you, ngiyazi ukuthi nisengabantu abasha nisakhula nisazofunda izinto eziningi, ukuthi let us not politicize the issue ye gender based violence, ngoba into imetha le yomphakathi wonke nje okhona, irrespective ukuthi which political party do you belong to. Ngiyazi ukuthi niyakhula, mhlawumbe nokushilo namhlanje nalabo abathi befuna ukuyipoliticize okugcina abaphinde bayenza into njengaleyo, because uma sikhuluma ngezinto ezinjengalezi zisensitive kakhulu kubantu abasuke bethintekile. We can't ngempela ukuthi sithi sizofaka ipolitiki kuzo. Bengithi nje angidlulisa lokho umphathi ohlelo ekuqaleni ukuze wonke umuntu understand uma ezojoyina kulama platforms anjengala ukuthi we are not here for politics. I-forum la esikhuluma khona ipolitiki khona i-legislature, siba naso isikhathi sokudebate as political parties, but nje la sifuna umphakathi wonke uparticipate ube ingxenye, singayiqhakambisi kakhulu ipolitiki. You know yourself ukuthi ubelonga kuyiphi political party, asikukhiphi kuyo, kodwa nje bheka indawo la usuku kuyo ukuthi kukhulunywa ngani. Iyayidinga yini ipolitiki indaba yokuhlukumeza komuntu wesifazane nezingane, kakhulukazi na issue nje gender based violence, nabesilisa nabo sizwile bekhuluma la ngazathi impela bayathinteka nabe kuhlukumezekeni. So siyanxusa singaphinde sifake ipolitiki kule platform esuke siyibizile. Quality of life sinothile zonke izinto eniziraisile kule platform, One into ethi le platform esikuyo namhlanje akumele ukuthi kube ekaJuly kuphela. Makudlula uJuly sesoze sibonane futhi ngoJuly ozayo. It should be an issue or a program ezorana for 365 days. Ifane nama programs aranwa abantu besifazane noma aranwa ama department gender based violence ikakhulukazi ama programs abhekiswe kubantu besifazane, because we are saying udaba lo la kulona abantu besifazane kuphela, udaba lwethu sonke njengomphakathi singabantu besilisa nabantu besifazane. It should be a program ezorana for 365 days. We have noted that ukuthi nikurezile and sizo uthatha sikudlulise as quality of life, sidlulisele kona wonke ama department akhona esishaya mthetho no ndunankulu ukhona la. But once we have finalized ama resolutions ethu naye ofisini lakhe sizowadlulisela. Although we are happy ukuthi unawo ama programs uPremier akhuluma ngendaba yokukhuliswa kwabafana ekutheni bakhule babe amadoda aqotho, but ama resolutions sizowadlulisela. We have also noted indaba yokuthi niya recommenda ukuthi akungabi program ezophelela la at a provincial level, ayehle iye kuma district, iye kuma local municipalities. As quality of life, we agree with you. Sizo tata a resolution as ni recommendile. Si se specific kakhulu kwa Khotha okuyena osebenzisana no masipala ukuthi siyacela ukuthi le program ayenzeke kubona bonke omasipala abakhona kuma district ethu KwaZulu-Natal. Ngike ngezwe nje ukuthi one district ike yaba nayo program kodwa bengabantu besilisa ingashongo ukuthi abantu besilisa basebancane. That district is district ibilidwa uSpeaker wakhona umhlonishwa umgcina. So siya ni recommendile ukuthi ayenzeke kuona wonke ama district nako masipala. Will request uKhotha ukuthi ayidlulisele phambili. Enye into esinothile enirezile indaba yokuthi as we are talking about gender based violence, akukona ukuthi abantu besifazane kuphela abahlukumezekayo, kodwa ukuthi baningi kakhulu bona abahlukunyezwayo usuku nosuku. Bakhona nabantu besilisa abahlukunyezwayo abathi uma bema police station beyo report ama cases abo abezomthetho bangabathathi serious. We are happy ke ukuthi you are raising this. Kukhona uMEC wa Community Safety and Liaison umphathiswa uNtuli ulizwile lo daba. We are appealing kuyena ukuthi alithathe serious ngokuyoxoxisana nabaphethe laphayana ema police station, because asifisi ukuthi sithi ngoba abantu besilisa bayahlukumezeka okwabo akusho lutho. Yingakho sithi igender ukusho ukuthi ngabe wesilisa noma ngabe wesifazane ohlukumezekayo ukuthi ibonakala kakhulu kubantu besifazane ngoba bona bayabulawa usuku nosuku, bayahlukumezeka nsuku zonke. Kodwa ke umphathiswa ukhona la nathi kuzofanele alithathe lo daba abone ukuthi uxoxa kanjani nabaphathi lapha ema police station, because siyawadinga nawo lama statistics ukuthi bakhona abantu besifazane abantu besilisa abahlukumezekayo bangaki, bahlukunyezwa kanjani. Siyayifuna nje ukuyithola yonke lento ngelinye ilanga sizokwazi ukuyixoxa ngqo, ngoba asinayo inhloso yokuthi bona bangavikelekeki, ngoba umthetho sisekelo wase South Africa uthi wonke umuntu kumele abe nakho ukuvikeleka angahlukunyezwa. Enye into okunye esifisayo ke ukusho ukuthi kuyo le issue yokuhlukumezeka kwabantu besilisa ikhona uSocial Development unawo ama shelter ake a reporta ngawo ukuthi awu2 asekhona la kwisifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal. Lama shelter awabantu besilisa abahlukumezekile. Okusho khona ukuthi bakhona abantu besilisa abahlukumezekayo ingakho kuze kukhona nama-shelter abo nakuba-ke bengebaningi. Mangithi 2 kwi-province kusho ukuthi ababaningi, uma bebaningi abakhoni ukwavula ama-cases abo emphathiswa. Kuzomela ukuthi-ke sicela ukuthi ulekelele kulokho. Siyafisa nje ukuyigcizelela kakhulu-ke leyo ukuthi sizothumela wonke ama-presentations akade enzeka ezinicelile ukuthi nicela wonke ama-presentations kade khona sinithumelele bonke abantu bebekade be-invite-iwe kule forum. We'll send them ama-presentations and siyacela futhi ukuthi if kusasekhona okunye enifisayo ukukuraiser ningakuraiser lapho ku-WhatsApp nakwi-page leli lase-legislature, sizokwazi ukuthi-ke na siresponde ngendlela efanelekile. Siyafisa-ke futhi ukusho sengigcina ukuthi njengoba sisho ukuthi akuzukuba eyokugcina njengoba nicelile, sizocela ama-department ayithathele phezulu. Nathi as u-quality of life sizokwenza isiqiniseko ukuthi siyamonitha or siyayenza i-oversight ekutheni ama-resolutions athathwe la ama-department ayayi-implementa njengoba sivumelana. Sithi-ke as u-quality of life siyafisa ukubona iKwaZulu-Natal iba nabafana abaqotho abazokhula bebe ngamadoda aqotho. Sihloniphana sonke, owesilisa ehlonipha owesifazane, owesifazane ehlonipha owesilisa. Ngiyabonga mphathi ohlelo.
Sibonga kakhulu.
Mhlambe kukhona okukodwa engikushiyayo khona okukodwa engikushiyayo ukuthi la kule platform esikuyo we have invited abafundi baka-matric abawu-12 abaqhamuka kuwona wonke ama-district. Sinayo lento eyisicelo ngoba siyazi ukuthi i-ofisi lika-Premier linawo amabhasari. NgoJune, Honorable Premier, noma usekhona noma usuhambile likhona i-office lakho ngiyazi. Sibe nabantu besifazana ama-young women nakhona besiba-invitile abantu besifazana abasebancane baka-grade 12. Bawu-12 futhi esiba-invitile. Siyacela ukuthi uma befundile baphasa kahle ba-prioritizwe ekutheni bawathola amabhasari. Labo abazobe ngempela banesidingo sokuthi abawathole amabhasari. Lokho kuzosinceda ukukhombisa ukuthi lama programs esiba nawo abanayo imphumela. We are not asihlali nje sixoxe for the sake of ukuxoxa, kodwa zonke izinto esixoxayo ziba nayo imphumela emihle. Isicelo leso Honorable Premier from Quality of Life. Siyabonga.
Thanks. Isicelo sizwakala ngempela, siyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu Premier. Siyabonga kakhulu. Chairperson, siyabonga kakhulu. Sizocela u-Honorable TS Mtshali with the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director, the Chairperson of the session today, Xabashe. Greetings to Honorable Premier. Greetings to the Portfolio Chair of Quality of Life. Greetings to all the MECs who are making presentation today. Greetings to our guests who are participating and our delegates who are involved in this process today. Honorable Chair, allow me to start by quoting what Chair Kuvara said. And I quote, he said that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolutionary lacking this quality, close quote. I felt I should start from there as I make my submission to this vote of thanks to these young men who are here today, that in every process that they will be doing moving forward with the information and the knowledge that has been acquired during this session, what should drive us, in particular as young men, indeed we should be guided by the great feeling of love, because such feeling of love must be what determines how we relate to young girls, how we relate to our sisters, how we relate to our mothers, how we relate to our grandparents. It is on this basis that if we are guided by such a great feeling of love, we will not find ourselves being a topic, or will not find ourselves being amongst the people who have been spoken about to have violated or ill-treated young girls, whether at school, whether in universities. But whatever we do will relate, because we will be guided by this great feeling of love. Because I could not imagine anyone who could be guided by the great feeling of love that Che Guevara spoke of, that will rape, that will lay his hand on a young girl, that will insult a young girl, that will say things that are very bad towards a young girl. So I felt I should start from there. And I think that we must thank the Portfolio Committee of Quality of Life for giving these young men and young boys this session. Obviously, we have not heard that some of them had raised an issue that they would want to be the ones who speak more other than the presentation. And I think that the interaction that was created, that they can also reflect on it. But moving forward, because this is the first of its, which unveils many programs that the Portfolio Committee will be enrolling within, trying to ensure that we groom young men so that they understand their responsibility in the society, so that they understand their role when it comes to fighting gender-based violence, but equally so that they get the sense of a clear understanding that when we say that young people are the future and no one can stop them, they understand that the route to them claiming that future, it speaks about how they conduct themselves. It speaks about how they're able to provide the leadership, how they utilize the gained knowledge, which must plow back to the society. It is them who must even educate those that are older than them in understanding what is expected of young boys. It is them that must also not only critique those who are doing wrong things, but they must also be defenders of young girls within our society. They must speak against such, but they must also be vocal in telling other young boys who may have not been here today that this is the responsibility that they have as young boys. And I'm quite confident that many of us who came in today, we are far better than what we were when it entered this session, the knowledge that we've acquired. But we must say that the quality of life, it has still opened its doors, your contribution, your submission, because we believe in the sentiment that was once shared by the ANC Youth League that says there is nothing about us without us. We are saying that there will be nothing about you as young boys without you participating in shaping the future. There will be nothing about you without you taking the center stage in terms of interacting the type of a future you envisage, the type of the future that you want to advance. But equally, there will be nothing about you without you being clear in terms of how all of us, because this is a societal matter, but because we can't only speak to a young girl, we must also speak to a young boy in having a clear responsibility and the understanding on how do we all of us participate in this issue of gender-based violence, but we go beyond the gender-based violence, about preparing young boys in understanding that what is it that is expected of them, but how do you also educate them so that they gain the necessary knowledge. It speaks about what one of you have spoken about, the lack of role model. And we must begin to say, how do we groom young people without only them, if in absence of a role model, who then becomes a role model for them? How do we become our own role model by learning from what we have seen happening in the society and taking steps and saying that not in our name, not for as long as we're here as young boys, we want to be different from those that have done the wrongs, but we want to declare a different generation that is going to do things differently in terms of how they treat young girls, but also in terms of how they treat themselves within the society. I think with those words, Chair, we must then submit our vote of thanks and thank the Premier for his time and thank all of those who participated here today, and even the commitment from the Premier that the issues of bursaries will be considered, in particular to those that have participated here today, but will also begin to ensure that they adhere to processes of applying for such bursaries. We do want to say to you, go back to your homes, go back to your communities, teach your fellow friends what you have learned here today. Speak the message that we've been speaking about today. Interact with them, coordinate them to be better men in the future with the understanding and the knowledge that we have, but equally contribute in building this country, contribute in shaping the future that you want to see, because it is not our future, but it is your future. So we can't shape it, but you have to take a very critical role in ensuring that you shape the future that you want to become. So with those words, the Honorable Chair, we do want to say we thank you, and as they continue, those who are still studying, the breaks that have come in, we understand that they are taking the break. They must not just take it as a break, they must utilize it as a time to reflect, but also to continue learning. We know that these are difficult times. The country is facing the pandemic. We are saying to them they must stay safe, they must ensure that they adhere to all the safety measures that must be taken, because to them we see our future, to them we're investing for the future, and indeed it is their future. They are the future and no one can stop them. I thank you, Chairperson.
Siyabonga kakhulu to Honorable Mbatha-Cele. Thank you with those wise words. And colleagues, honorable members, let me also thank you for your participation, and also thanking Honorable S.E. Manqele ukusivulela ngomthandazo. Honorable Chair, siyabonga kakhulu with the platform. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Baba Ndobe, thank you again with your wise words. Also, Dr. Philanndwa, thank you. We believe we are still engaging because they are more on the social media side, but we are still there engaging with them. And also to Mnumzane MK Ngobese, thank you for your contribution. Honorable Ntuli, once again, we have actually you have given us an eye-opener on your report. We have learned quite a lot. I believe even our participants have learned quite a lot in your report. Once again, honorable members who participated, to all our participants, thank you for your contribution. We have also learned. I want to close on the quote of Nelson Mandela when he said, domestic violence, rape, abuse of women remain disgraceful blots on the reputation of our country. I thank you all. Go well. Thank you. And again, once again, thanks for your contribution. Siyabonga. Umhlangano wethu sewuvaliwe.
Ama-question I have three questions.
Enkosi sihlala.
Sawubona Bhele.
Kodwa it. Awu, usihambile Mpemba mhlambe kufunezwe lisele.
Wempemba.
Yebo, wesalo